Your Honor, she's reaching out to the other officer right now, just to go ahead and get a few of the additional facts, Your Honor.
Okay, well,
You can check that.
well, we've got this officer here on Chambers.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you want to go ahead and bring out Raphael Chambers? Let's do it. You ready, Ms. Alfarasi? Come on up, officer. That microphone may kind of mess up a little bit. So
Okay,
just
no
tap
problem.
it, make sure it's working. There you go. Okay. Perfect. All right, if you want to raise your right hand, you swear for every testimony you're about to give is truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, if you state and spell your name for the court reporter.
Okay. Caroline Bush, Caroline, last name Bush, Bush.
All right, and stand by, we'll get him out here.
Approach, Your Honor.
Sure.
Yeah, is it court reporter on? Oh, okay, I see it.
Right, the kind of swap I was used to the other name.
Oh, no, you're good. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm
Okay,
good.
where it says, Ms. Goodman. Yeah. I know, right? Yeah, look at it first. All right, this is position 922 CP 214604. 129 days without indictment. There's a $49,300 good bond as of March 29th on driving, fleeing, attempting to elude, driving improper erratic lane change, escape, custody and confinement, pedestrian in roadway, willful obstruction, misdemeanor, operating without lights required by law, driving on the wrong side of the road, failure to obey traffic control devices, reckless driving, marijuana less than announced, driving hit and run, driving hit and run, driving hit and run. All right, go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Ma'am, where are you currently employed?
City of Atlanta Police Department.
And were you employed with them on December the 10th, 2022?
Yes, sir.
How did you become aware of Raphael Jermaine Chambers?
We had received multiple incidents of different hit and run accidents in the area. And upon further investigation, we were able to locate the male on the interstate in the vehicle that had caused said hit and runs.
And can you please describe what occurred?
Yes, so on this said date, December 10th, around 9:45 p.m., we were notified on our Zone 3 radio, which is where I work, of a officer in Zone 4 attempting a traffic stop on a pickup truck. It was described as a white Dodge pickup truck with a temporary tag affixed to the back. The vehicle had driven into oncoming traffic around the officer. The officer attempted a traffic stop and the vehicle continued northbound on Lee Street where the incident occurred. And so the officer just gave a lookout on radio. About 5 minutes later, we received a hit and run call at the intersection of Pryor Road and Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard.
In regards to the hit and run, who was involved?
Yes, so for this incident, it was a Mercedes vehicle with, the driver was Mr. Tristan Moyerfoot. I'm sorry, Mr. Tristan Moyer and Mrs. China Waldorf. And they were driving on Pryor Street. They drove through the intersection, and as they did so, a white Dodge pickup truck matching the same description as the incident in Zone 4 ran the red light and struck their vehicle before fleeing from the location.
And please proceed.
Okay, and then about 5 minutes after this, 5 to 10 minutes after this, we received another call on the interstate of two separate hit and run accidents. One was involving a gray Honda driven by a Miss Altomisha Smith. The other was a black Ford pickup truck driven by Andres Vieira. Both of them stated that a white Dodge pickup had come into their lane and struck them before losing control and having a flat tire, and the driver exiting the white pickup truck. And at this point, the male of the white pickup that had caused those accidents fled on foot on the interstate.
And where is this happening at? I know it was on the interstate, but can you tell me what section?
Yes, so it's 7585 southbound near University Avenue. So not a far drive from where the initial incident occurred, and then also the second incident at Ralph David Abernathy and Pryor Street.
And what counties is this in?
It's all Fulton County.
So did they see the male exit the vehicle?
Yes, so the female described a black male heavyset wearing a red shirt and dark jeans or dark pants, said that he started running northbound in the southbound lanes. So at this point, my partner and I got on the interstate to try and locate the male. We did receive another 911 call at this time from a completely separate person describing a traffic hazard on the roadway. And this caller described a similar description of the male running on the interstate. So we were able to drive in the area and locate the male on the interstate and take him into custody.
And when you saw the male, what was he wearing?
So it was a heavyset black male wearing a red shirt and dark colored pants.
And the initial call by the officer in zone 4,
Yes.
what was the initial call for in regards to why he was stopping the car?
So the officer in zone 4 was just driving down Lee Street in his patrol vehicle.
Mhm.
And the video that I placed in the report, it shows the white pickup truck go into oncoming lanes of travel around the officer. So he swerved out of the way to avoid any sort of collision. So because he saw this, the vehicle driving erratically and it didn't have any headlights on, he attempted to stop it because he had watched the traffic infractions occur.
And in the video, did you review the video?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to see any headlights?
No, I did not see any in the video. The only lights were when the patrol vehicle attempted to pull him over with his lights and sirens.
And the patrol vehicle, as you already stated, but was it a marked patrol vehicle?
Yes.
After the incident with the Zone 4 officer, did he turn on his lights?
The officer or the?
The officer.
Yes. In the video, the officer turns on his lights and the vehicle continues at a high rate of speed. So he cancels any sort of attempt to stop the vehicle and calls it out over the radio.
And the improper erratic lane change, when did that occur?
So when the zone 4 officer attempted to pull him over, he went into oncoming traffic and then came back into the lanes of travel in the right direction, but he was moving in and out of traffic during this time as well. And then also on the interstate when he was swerving in lanes as he caused accidents as well for the other 2 hit and runs.
Once you were able to detain him, what happened next?
So the male was detained. We spoke with the parties on scene on the interstate to confirm that that's who they witnessed get out of the vehicle. And then.
And I'm sorry, just to be a little bit more. I know you
Yes.
said you talked to the parties. Which parties did you speak with?
The driver of the gray Honda, Altamisha Smith, and the driver of the black Ford, Andres Vieira.
Thank you. Please proceed.
So we spoke with them. We were able to confirm that identity. We tried to get more information about the vehicle. We were unable to identify the defendant at that time. He did not give his information, so we had to get a fingerprint scanner in order to do so. So we impounded the vehicle due to its damage and him being arrested. And we located a small amount of marijuana in the vehicle that we turned in as evidence and then towed the vehicle before he was taken to Grady Hospital for just clearance from the accident.
And once at Grady, after he was taken to Grady, what happened after that?
So while I did paperwork, 2 other officers took him to Grady to clear him. While they were at Grady, I was notified by one of the officers that as they were attempting to take him into the hospital, he tried to break free from one of the officers and began to run away, but they were able to catch him a very short time later and take him back into custody.
And when he was being transported to Grady, was he detained at that time?
Yes.
Was he informed why he was detained?
I don't recall giving him specific information about why he was detained. When he was on the interstate and we did detain him, he, put his hands up and I won't say surrender, but he put his hands up when we found him on the interstate. So we didn't do any sort of questioning with him because we had all the probable cause for the accidents that had happened at that point.
The officers who transported him to Grady, were they uniformed officers?
Yes, sir.
Was he transported in a marked police car?
Yes, sir.
Were you post-certified during this investigation?
Yes, sir.
At any time, did you speak with Mr. Chambers?
We tried to get him identified on scene and he wouldn't give his name or anything like that. So he didn't wish to speak with us. So no, we did not speak with him.
And do you see Mr. Chambers in the courtroom at this time?
Everybody remove your mask.
Yes, I do.
You can stand up if you need to.
Okay.
And Your Honor, respectfully, can I?
Remove your mask. There you go. Go ahead.
Okay.
Do you see Mr. Chambers in the courtroom?
Yes.
Can you please describe the article of clothing he is wearing?
Yes, that's the black male sitting at the table. He's wearing a navy blue jumpsuit with a white shirt underneath.
May the court recognize she has positively identified the defendant?
All right, noted. You can place your mask back on.
Was any of this caught on the actual hit and runs? Was that caught on video in any kind of way?
The incident at Pryor and Ralph David Abernathy was caught on camera. I had pulled it up on our camera system before we had made contact on the interstate. So that video was uploaded as well. There was another officer who went out there and did the accident report. So that was included with his report. The incident on the interstate, we don't have cameras that we have access to that are, you can play them back. So there was no video footage of the one on the interstate. Only the initial incident with the traffic stop in zone 4 and then the one at Ralph David Abernathy and Pryor.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Cross.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, officer.
Good afternoon.
So I want to back up from the beginning. So when you got a call from an officer saying that there was a hit and run incident?
No, so the initial call that we got was the lookout given over the air by our radio from the incident in zone 4. So where the incident occurred in zone 4 with the traffic stop was on Lee Street. Zone 3 is right on the other side of the train tracks right there. So we're very close by. So we were given a lookout over radio describing a white Dodge pickup truck with a temporary tag on it that had fled from officers on a traffic stop. the hit and run call came up about 5 to 10 minutes after that initial lookout was given.
Okay, so timeline, it's that first officer, the zone 4 officer. Do you have the officer's name?
Yes, Verlian is his last name, Officer Verlian.
Okay, and is he with APD or?
Yes.
Okay, he's with APD.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so he saw a car not with headlights on.
So the dash camera that I added to the report, it shows him driving down the street, just in the area, and then his car swerves out of the way a bit, and you see a white pickup truck come in the lane, the oncoming lanes of traffic to go around him and then continue straight. And he noticed it behind him without headlights on, and then that's when he tried to pull it over for the traffic infractions.
Okay, now when you said that it had entered a lane, was he just passing?
So it's a 2-lane road, so 2 lanes in both directions. The officer was in the left lane. He went into oncoming traffic to go around the officer. So he went into oncoming lanes of travel and went around the officer. And that's when he tried to swerve out of the way and then noticed it driving at a high rate of speed.
Okay, so that was on that dash camera that you viewed and put in evidence.
Yes, ma'am. And I spoke with that officer to confirm all of that as well to get the video. So,
Okay, but that you saw the video yourself.
yes.
Okay, and so then after that, he tried to initiate that officer tried to initiate a stop and
Yes.
it was unsuccessful and be able to do that. And so then there was a 911 call that happened 5 minutes later.
Yes, so the 911 call that came in was for a hit and run at Ralph David Abernathy and Pryor Street, and that's not a far drive, probably less than a 5-minute drive from where the initial traffic stop had occurred. And that incident was describing a Mercedes that had been struck at the intersection by a white Dodge pickup truck, and that Dodge had fled the scene after the accident.
Okay, now is that incident on video?
Yes, so that I found that video through our recording system and placed it into the accident report as well.
Okay. And so that video, is that a body cam video or is that a dash cam video?
It's a street camera video,
CCT footage?
something like that. It's a Fusus is a resource that we use to look at street cameras and do playbacks on videos.
Okay. All right. And so then after that, there was another 911 call.
Yes, so we got a third 911 call approximately 5 to 10 minutes after the hit and run at Ralph David Abernathy. And this was on the interstate on 7585 and University going southbound. And a female in a gray Honda said that a white pickup truck had struck her vehicle. A male also called at the same time, and a black Ford saying that a white Dodge had hit his car as well. So they were 2 separate 911 calls, but happened right at the same time in the same area.
Okay. And so is that incident with this gray Honda and this black truck, are those on video as well?
No, the interstate cameras, we don't have access to play those back. So that was not captured on video.
Okay. And so when the white pickup had struck these cars, I know you said that they had said it, but who in particular said they saw a heavyset male exit the car?
The female in the gray Honda, Mrs. Smith. So she had called in the hit and run accident, and in the notes of the call, it included that after the accident happened, there was a flat tire on the Dodge, so it pulled over to the side, and then the male exited and started running on the interstate.
Okay. And so she says someone started running. Okay. And then did you ever get to the scene? Were you ever at any scene in this case?
Yes. So when that third call came up on the interstate, I was on the way with my partner because these incidents seem related. So we wanted to go see if we could try to make contact with the male. So on our way there, we made contact with the male and detained him. And then all of us went to the scene of the interstate call and spoke with the both parties that had been hit out there. And that's where the Dodge was as well. That's where it was parked on the side of the road.
You say the Dodge, that's where this white truck?
The white Dodge.
Okay.
Yes.
And so when you spoke with both these witnesses in this case, were you wearing your body camera at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
And so is that all preserved into evidence as well?
Yes.
Okay. And so, so then you speak with them on this is on the side of the highway, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you speak with them on the side of the highway, and then they told you someone fled. So did you pursue on foot? Did you pursue in a vehicle?
Yeah, so before we made contact with those parties, we received another 911 call while we were on the way to all of this. And this 911 caller, they said they saw somebody running on the interstate, and it matched the description, the heavyset black male wearing a red shirt and dark pants. So we knew that he most likely was in the area and was related to this hit and run. So we made contact with him and detained him before we turned around on the interstate to speak with the parties of the hit and run.
Okay, and so the 911 call about seeing someone run on the interstate, did they describe how they were running? Were they running in the lane? Were they running on the shoulder? Were they running?
They said
in the
close to,
grass?
they said close to the HOV lane, and that's what we witnessed. We witnessed him running in close to the HOV lane, running northbound. And then we were too far in front of him, so we had to loop back around going southbound. And then that's when we made contact with him in that same area.
Okay, and so when you say you made contact, so you were in your car, right?
Yes, we were in the patrol car, and then when we flipped around, we got out of the car because he was standing on the median. So at this time, we had people behind us, so we could safely exit the car on the interstate, and then we were able to get him to get off the median and place him into
Okay, so
handcuffs.
that was you and your partner?
Yes.
That were able to apprehend him and arrest him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so you arrested him on scene? And
Yes, he was detained on scene while we were figuring everything out. And then once we went back and spoke with those parties of the hit and run and were able to determine that's who the female had seen getting out of the car and that he matched the description, that's when we went forward with doing warrants for the traffic charges.
Okay, you said that you went back and you spoke with the Miss Smith and then the black
Mr. Vieira.
Mr. Vieira.
Mhm.
So when you spoke with them, you said that they identified Mr. Chambers.
Yeah, so Miss Smith was the one who had initially described him getting out of the car, and she was able to identify him because we were all out on the interstate. So we just had the window rolled down, and she was able to see that it was him and match the description.
So you guys conducted a show up.
Yes, essentially.
Okay, and so was Mr. Chambers in the car at the time of the show up?
He was, yes.
Okay, and so he was in a police car. Was there anyone else involved in the show up? Did you have other just members in there?
No, because the male, Mr. Vieira, he had not been able, he knew somebody, he said he saw someone on the interstate, but he didn't give a good description. So we more so used her knowledge of what she had seen when he got out of the car. So, because they were hit close by to each other, but it was like, he called right around the same time that she called, describing the same car that had hit both of them. So,
All right, so really it was just Mrs. Smith that identified him?
yes,
Okay. Okay, and so she identified him through a show up?
yes.
Okay. And did you ever speak with Mr. Chambers?
So I tried to identify him through just getting his name and his birthday. He didn't want to give any of that information to us. So after Mirandizing him, he didn't want to speak with us. And so at that point, 2 officers took him down to the hospital so we could try to get a fingerprint scanner to get his proper name and birthday and everything.
So you took him to the hospital to get his fingerprint scanned?
So we were taking him to the hospital to get him checked out. At this point, we were trying to get other zones because sometimes we have issues with fingerprint scanners and having the right password and everything. There was a sergeant in zone 5 that had access to the fingerprint scanner, or one in his zone, and he met the officers at the hospital just as an easier location to meet in order to identify him there and also get him cleared medically. So he was not taken there to be fingerprinted. He just went there to be cleared, and they brought a fingerprint scanner to the hospital to identify him there.
Okay, and so is that the point when you left your involvement in this case? Did you have further involvement after he was brought to the hospital?
So at that point, I went back to our precinct to get all of the information together and swear out warrants once I had him identified.
Okay, so you were not at the hospital with him?
No.
Okay, so you had testified earlier too, that he attempted to leave the custody from the officers while at the hospital.
Yes.
What was your basis for knowing that if you weren't there?
So both the officers are officers that I work with. They work in the same unit that I do. So they notified me when they were at the hospital that he had attempted to do so. Officer Wright, who was there, also did a supplemental report under mine describing that incident.
Okay, and so who were those 2? You said there was 2 officers that were there, correct?
Yes, Officer Gachet and Officer Wright. They were partners that day, and they took him down there to the hospital so I could do the paperwork.
Okay. So do you know if those officers were wearing their body cameras at the time?
Yes, they were.
Okay, so any incident that would have happened at the hospital is captured on body camera and preserved?
Yes.
Did you ever have a chance, or did you ever go review that yourself?
I did not know because Officer Wright did the supplemental report describing what happened from his point of view, and he gave me all the information of what had happened so that I was able to do the warrant based off of collective knowledge of the information he had given me.
Okay, now it sounds like I want to get a little more into what happened at the hospital. So like when he was at the hospital, he just moved his arm and he tried running a little bit? I mean, I heard that he never left custody. He was always in.
So he was in handcuffs at this point. As they were walking up to the doors, you have to check in through security before you go inside to get cleared. And as they were walking inside, he was able to break free from one of the officers and started running outside of the doors of the hospital towards the street. But from my understanding, he tripped and fell or did not make it very far. And then that's when the officers were able to get him back and then bring him inside of the hospital.
He never really lost. He was never not in custody then. I mean, he was always in a visual reach and he was apprehended minutes later.
Yeah, I mean, she just kind of told you what happened based on the supplemental report, so,
Yeah, okay, I'll move on, Your Honor.
okay.
Okay, did you search the vehicle?
Yes,
And that was the truck, the white truck?
yes.
And you said that you found marijuana in there. How much did you find?
It was less than an ounce. It was a small amount. I should have it in here, but it was a marijuana blunt. So it was a small amount of
So a blunt is significantly less, is like what, like 1 gram maybe?
1 or 2
Give or take?
grams. Yes.
Okay.
So possession less than an ounce was the charge for that.
And it was rolled up or it was like just raw?
It was rolled up.
Okay. And so did you guys test that at all?
We turned those in to be tested as evidence. And
If that's tested or will be tested?
that normally we just turn it in as evidence and make the charge for what it is. So
Okay, but so when you say you turn it in as evidence, does that mean you're submitting it to the GBI for testing?
Objection, asked and answered, Your Honor.
I want to be clear. What does turning into evidence mean, Your Honor? Does it mean she turned it,
So
she's in
who
custody
you
or?
turn it over to?
we have a place called the annex that we turn all of our evidence into for drugs, guns, all that kind of stuff. So anytime we find marijuana or anything like that, we turn it in to be either destroyed or analyzed. So
So to your knowledge, you don't know if it's being tested by the GBI?
no, we don't get notification of that.
Thank you. One moment, just want to make sure I got everything.
Sure.
Did you ever review 911 calls leading up prior to the incident? Was there any 911 calls from Mr. Chambers?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Did you look into that at all?
Objection, relevance.
I don't know how I'd be able to do that.
What's the relevance of him making a 911 call?
Just prior to the incident, it could explain.
I mean, do you have a basis for that, or you just randomly asking? I mean, yeah,
have a
better than me
basis,
calling
yeah.
911, I'm just saying, you know,
I have a basis, Your Honor.
okay.
My client indicated he had called 911 prior to this incident, so that's why I was just inquiring if they had inquired into that themselves.
Oh, okay. She says she doesn't know.
Okay,
No, he didn't give any statements to us that he did, so we didn't check into that. So
okay. Do you know if there was any reports of anyone chasing him or anything like that
no,
that was observed or anything?
no.
There was only one car that was going high speed?
Are you talking about the Dodge?
Yeah, there's only the one truck that you saw really involved in.
Yes, and all the incidents, yes.
One moment, I want to just
Sure.
refer to my client.
I can hear you up here, sir. You probably want to talk a little lower.
All right, no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, anything else from the state? Okay.
In regards to the first interaction with the zone 4 officers,
Yes.
you said he drove the car towards them. Can you explain that a little bit more?
So you're talking about the Dodge?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the video shows the patrol car in the left lane traveling north on Lee Street. In the dash cam video, you see his vehicle, the patrol vehicle, swerve to the right a little bit, and then you see the white Dodge pickup truck in the opposite lanes of traffic trying to go around him. So he goes into opposite lanes and goes around the officer and gets back into the correct lanes and then continues straight. And so at this point, that's when the officer noticed that the car was driving erratically and didn't have its headlights on and attempted the traffic stop.
And just for my clarity, I know you said around in the vehicle, so
Mhm.
when he first goes into the opposing side,
Mhm.
where is the defendant's vehicle, where's the vehicle? Is it in front of the officer's car, behind it, or going towards it?
So he comes from behind the officer, and then as he's going in the opposite lanes of traffic, the officer said he thought that the vehicle was going to swerve into the left lane. So he then swerved to the right to try to avoid any sort of collision. And then after he swerved, the Dodge came back into the lanes of traffic in front of him.
And did he express, any concerns, the officer, the zone 4 officer?
I mean, he gave out the bolo, the lookout to the radio, describing that the car almost struck his vehicle and took off, driving recklessly at a high rate of speed. So, yes, because he did have to swerve out of the way to avoid any sort of collision.
No further questions at this time.
Any follow-up on that, Ms. Alfaro? Okay, thank you. Is that it for this officer?
That's it for this officer, Your Honor.
All right, stay safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead with the argument.
Most times I usually defer. Most times I usually defer to the defense. I would like to add aggravated assault 16-5-1A2, as described by the officer. He swerved, he had to swerve from actually missing and being struck by the vehicle, Your Honor. He was concerned about that. I feel that he did use the vehicle in an offensive way. The officer did not suffer serious bodily injury, but he was likely to suffer serious bodily injury by the actions of the defendant, Your Honor. So I ask that charge be added.
I'm sorry, what charge is he trying to add now?
5-21 aggravated assault.
Do you need a second or you're gonna go ahead and respond?
I mean, Your Honor, hold on, Your Honor.
A2.
Yeah, I mean, there was no injury in this case. There's no indication that he intended to hurt the officer. I mean, they're trying to charge with him with driving around the officer. There was no indication that he turned into the officer to hit the officer. I didn't hear any testimony like that. So I just submit, as it's charged, it's already covering that type of action, Your Honor. So I just think aggravated assault is a complete overreach here. There's no indication he tried to hit the officer to get away from the officer. He went around the officer, and they're already charging him with these various charges relating to that in terms of going into the wrong way, fleeing or attempting to elude. So I just think it's an overcharge, Your Honor. I don't think it meets sufficient basis. There's no proof of intent that he intended to actually hit the officer or hurt the officer in any capacity. And this officer, again, was not hit.
All right, anything else on any of the other charges while you're?
Yeah, I will submit to the evidence on these charges. The only thing I would like to point out, though, is that it sounds like the marijuana is a very low amount that they did not test. And to my knowledge, sounds like they're probably not going to test it based on our understanding. So I think that's questionable. When it comes to the, what? Oh, there's that. Okay, also with the escape, I think if anything, it's an attempted escape than an actual escape, Your Honor. I mean, he did not ever leave the side of the officers. If anything, I think it's also honestly more of an obstruction charge. Again, I think that's an overreach charge. If they're having him for fleeing for the obstruction, then now they also want to have him for escape for the same action. And so I would just argue, Your Honor, that we submit to the evidence, but we do object on those
All right,
charges.
go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Yes, Your Honor. In regards to the differences between the escape and the fleeing is associated with driving, Your Honor. The zone 4 officer did turn on the blue lights. He did pursue him. So that was a separate and distinct incident in regards to this, a separate and distinct time during this entire incident. The escape, he was handcuffed with 2 officers at each side with at least one officer on his hand. He pulled away. He ran away. He did not enter into the hospital as they were trying to go in and give him additional medical assistance to ensure that he was medically cleared, Your Honor. He did actually get away. He was able to get out of the grasp of at least one officer two officers had to pursue him. And the only reason they was actually able to get to him was because he allegedly tripped or fell, Your Honor. He was at that time in custody. The officers were properly in a squad car, and also they were properly uniformed officers, Your Honor. I asked that the court find probable cause for all charges.
But he also, they're charged with obstruction too. So what are the basis for obstruction? I understand the fleeing and looting is a little bit different, but then what's the basis for obstruction? Because when he got out of the car and ran, there was no officer chasing him at that time. So either no obstruction or no custody, they're trying to leave the custody. You can't have both ways, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Have a quick moment, Your Honor. Your Honor,
I think they did about running while he was on the interstate when they were trying to stop him. That's, I mean, from my notes and stuff, that's what.
Yes, Your Honor. It was three different instances, Your Honor. This was three different times within the same incident, Your Honor. It was one time when he was actually going towards Grady, going towards the actual hospital. The fleeing and the looting.
Grady at the hospital, at Grady on the interstate, and then when he ran from him in the car, when they were chasing him in the car, Lee Street to get on the interstate, right?
Three different times, yes, Your Honor.
Is that what I'm?
I mean, so there's the fleeing from him in the car and then the running at the hospital. But then on the interstate, I didn't hear that a cop was chasing him when he was running.
They were going down the interstate and he was running down the
But
interstate.
we didn't hear that her lights were on, that they were chasing her at the time. I don't think it's that she didn't testify that, oh yes, we had our lights on and we were chasing him as he was running. I mean, just because the officer was driving by him while he's running on the interstate does not necessarily mean that officer's trying to stop him. There wasn't lights on. I didn't hear the officer testify she had her lights on when she was driving on the interstate.
Your Honor, respectfully, she said, I made contact with him. She said, I looked around, and she said at that time, he started running.
Made contact with, what does that even mean, made contact with him? I mean, that's vague. It was the state's job then to open into that a little bit more.
Right, so I'm gonna deny adding the ag assault. I'll find probable cause on the rest of them from just the notes that I have. And he has a $49,300 good bond as of March the 29th. We'll go ahead and hear from pretrial. Oh, Bostic's back.
Yeah, I'm here. In regards to Chambers, he 3 arrests for probation violations, 3 for parole violation. He has an old aggravated assault. Then he has a 2014 coke with the intent, 2017 cocaine on probation, and troop from 2021, 3 years confinement, 10 years probation for a firearm. By nothing further.
All right, Ms. Alfarossi, do we have an address for him?
Yes, Your Honor. It should be in the system, is it not?
No, there wasn't. He didn't give one at the jail.
Okay, I'll file a change of address to get in the Odyssey.
Well, is it in Fulton County? Where is it?
It is in LaGrange.
LaGrange. Okay.
LaGrange? Yeah, Fulton?
LaGrange, Troop County.
Okay.
Okay,
So it's not in Fulton County, Your Honor. I'm still learning some of the Georgia counties. He's like not Atlanta County.
that's okay.
Okay, so Your Honor, Mr. Chambers is 39 years old. He does have his GED. At the time of his arrest, he was working for Chick-fil-A in LaGrange. He's a cook for them. He does have family in the area. He himself is a lifelong resident. He's been in Georgia 15 years now, so he's been here for a long time, Your Honor. He does have a 1-year-old daughter that lives with him here in Georgia. We do have good contact information for various family members he's given us, as well as him when he gets out. Your Honor, he does have other family in the area too, is what I'm seeing here, and he is married. He's not married. Sorry, it's not married. Wrong. wrong thing was cut. So Your Honor, his current bond right now is a 49,300. I know you just said it not that long ago. He cannot make that bond at all. Absolutely. It's way too high. We are asking for a total today of $30,000. I'm not even sure if his family would be able to make that today, but that's 2,000 versus maybe 5,000 when you go to a bond account, which is very significant, especially for my clients and their situation and their family. So we're asking for the bond to be reduced to 20,000 total. Again, I'm not even sure he'll be able to make that, but at least it gives us somewhere to start and to move up towards. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Your Honor, we are quite concerned in regards to the public, Your Honor. We are concerned because it wasn't one vehicle that was hit, it was multiple vehicles that was hit. It was an officer who had to swerve out the way, Your Honor, to avoid being hit, Your Honor. It was a person driving on the wrong side of the lane. We are concerned in regards to the fact that he was on probation also, Your Honor, during this encounter. One of the, in regards to conditions, I would say no drugs, no alcohol, but also, Your Honor, and I would defer to the court in regards to this, I would say no driving unless he has a valid license. And because the concern is with this and what happened, it was multiple people who were affected by the actions because he was driving at the time of this actual incident. We would defer to the court in regards to the amount of bond.
All right, let's see. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Tristan Meyer, Andres, Andres, last name Bieyra, and no further contact with China Waldorf, Waldorf. Also, no further contact with Altomeisha, last name Smith. You can have an income monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, the schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. I put it down here, no driving. Unless your bond is modified, there'll be no driving. Let's see. Everything. Stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer. So fill up with gas right outside of Fulton County, come on into town, go to court, leave. Throw snacks in your car. Don't stop in Fulton County for snacks, gas, air in your tire, or anything else. You come straight here and you leave, but you won't be driving, so whoever's doing that, all right? I got, let's see, pull this back up. Make sure I get all the right ones. I got 10,000 on count one, 500 on count two, 2,000 on count three, $100 on count four, pedestrian and roadway, 500 on count five, the misdemeanor obstruction, $50 on operating with lights not on, 1,500 on driving on the wrong side of the road, 100 on traffic control device, 5,000 on reckless driving. Let's see, $50 on the misdemeanor marijuana, and then 4,000 on each hit and run. Best of luck to you, sir.
Yeah, I guess I have a moment to add it up so I can tell them the total.
Okay. Sure.
What'd you say? I'm gonna-
Let's see. So are you ready to do both cases? Ready to do both? So you want to bring them both out? His name's Rhodes and the add-on guy, Eric Mason.
I'll see if she knows who you are.
You want me to swear in now?
What's that?
You want me to swear or you don't swear?
Yeah, I can, doesn't matter, 6 of 1.
Total is 31,800.
Testimony that you're gonna give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
I do.
You can have a seat, please stay and spell your first and last name for the record, please.
Dastasia Bailey, Dastasia, last name Bailey.
All right, stand by till the court reporter gets here, so.
Your Honor, that completes my business.
Yes, ma'am, see you this evening if you got anything.
I do. I'll see you this evening. Your
All
Honor.
right,
Your Honor,
yes, ma'am.
I don't know if you've seen the email that I sent to you, about me having to appear before Judge Locke
Uh-huh.
at 2 p.m.
Okay,
If feasible, I don't think my officer is here, so will I be able to go to that courtroom and then return?
so yours is Clayton Curtis
Yes, and Dexter Freeman.
and Dexter Freeland. Do you have anything on those two officers while,
hold on one second.
that's position 3?
Clayton's, I'm ready to move forward, the officers here, in position 4 and 5, I just reached out to my office.
Yeah, you just got something you want to go ahead and,
I don't think it was sent down, Your Honor.
is it a bond hearing?
It's a prelim, but I only have one, and that's the only thing that's on the calendar.
And who's doing it?
Judge Locke.
All right.
The courtroom.
May give me email on what you do.
I did email him, already, so he
I'll-
does know.
How about I do it too, in that way they can get mad at me longer, right?
Okay.
Doesn't matter. All right, yeah, I'll email them for you. Okay. All right, it's been previously sworn, so this is, yeah,
Your Honor.
yes, ma'am.
I guess before we go on the record, for position, I believe it's 7, where we have co-defendants. Clearly, this is an issue here. I represent one co-defendant and my colleague, Will Lyle, represents the other co-defendant. Our office cannot represent both. And so I believe Mr. Mason is going to have to be sent to a C3 attorney.
Right, we only just found this out yesterday afternoon after the case was put on today's calendar,
Right,
because they had different CP numbers and the warrants don't,
sure.
in my case, don't mention the warrants in her case.
Y'all gonna rock, paper, scissors to see who gets who, or what y'all gonna do?
Mr. Rhodes has more charges and has more cases, so we'll keep Mr. Rhodes.
Okay, so what you wanna do with your client?
So I would need to, because this is the first case hearing about it, because we
Sure.
only just spoke to him. So I know he has a bond hearing on May 1st, but he's in no bond status now, so we could still do a bond hearing and,
May 1st with
get-
me at night? With me at night?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, all right.
So he should hopefully have a C3 by that point
Mm-hmm.
to put him in, so he could get out of no bond status. Or I could just do one today and the prelim could just be for Mr. Rhodes.
What do you folks wanna do?
Would that be all right with Your Honor to hear a bond hearing today?
Sure. I mean, it looks like they've both been in, let's see, I think he has no bond yet as of November, so I'll be glad to do that. And your guy has, as of March, like 14,200 and 16,000. So I'll still
Yes.
address it. Yeah, I'll still
Okay,
address it.
So then Mr. Lyle can represent him for purposes of bond, but we would be unable to do the prelim today.
Okay, on him.
Yes,
Okay, but just do it on your guy.
yes.
Okay, that's fine. Let's see. So we'll do bond hearing on Eric Mason only. Can we do it ahead of time so you can go? Because it's your
I
only
can-
case?
This is my only case, yeah.
All right, so we'll do bond, so just stand by, okay? 22 CP 214079, 152 days without indictment. Eric Mason, burglary in the second degree, criminal damage to property in the second degree, and possession of tools for crime. No bond as of November the 19th. Ah.
I don't have anything on Eric Mason. Who is Eric Mason?
What'd you say, Eric Mason? Yes,
Got an add-on or something?
yes, ma'am. Now, the booking number 221-7056. It was added on kind of at the last minute, Boston.
And it was on yesterday's 9 o'clock docket, I believe, if that helped. The 1 o'clock docket. The 1 o'clock.
38 prior arrests, driving with suspended license, giving false name. Driving with suspended license, probation violation. FTA, that was in 2012. Misdemeanor, probation violation, probation violation.
Like charges they brought up on me. Also, I was not even on the property. And then
I'm still scrolling through criminal trespass. Another FTA in 2014. Misdemeanor again, forgery in the fourth. Another FTA in 2015. First felony appears to be an entering auto in 2015. Misdemeanors. Another FTA in 2018, another FTA, probation violation. So history of FTAs, here's only a felony was that entering auto, history of probation violation, history of misdemeanors, like giving false name. There's appears to have been, nope, that was an FTA on a possession in 2018. Nothing further.
Same one.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mason is age 48. He was born in Georgia, lived here his entire life with his extended family. He is divorced, but he has 9 children. All are over age 18 except for one, who lives with the mother in McDonough. He was a high school graduate in 1984. He worked as an arborist and can return to his job, so doing work with trees and things like that. He was in the National Guard between 2001 2004 with an honorable discharge. So he was a veteran. His address is 2720 Palm Drive in East Point, Georgia, 30344. I only heard a single felony conviction for entering auto 8 years ago, and he's been in no bond status since November, so requesting $5,000 on each charge for a total of $15,000.
All right, what says the state?
The state, it was multiple reports from pretrial that said that he had FTA, so we're concerned, will he actually come back to address the charges before the court? Also, I know we didn't go through with the preliminary hearing as of yet, but it was a prolific copper thieves going on. He was part of this ring that was occurring, and we are concerned for the public property also. So that is concerns that the state have, and we will defer to the court in regards to the amount of bond.
So it's got a Harlan Drive. It says Atlanta. Is that an East Point address?
The Harlan Drive was Atlanta.
So is that where you're gonna live, Harlan Drive?
The new address is in East Point. He
Oh,
would
it's
be
in
living
East
at. I need to put in the
Okay.
address change.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 1268. Is it Millage Street in East Point? You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. You can leave for court, lawyer, medical, or employment purposes as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, a schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. So if you didn't live in East Point, I was going to tell you to stay out of East Point. But you have to give all that to Mr. Lyle and to the ankle monitoring company, so they know where you're going. So don't get a job and then decide you're going to quit because you're going to just go, do other stuff every day because they check up on it. Let's see. 10,000, 5,000, and 2,000. 10,000, 5,000, 2,000. Best of luck to you, sir. And then we'll address again on May, what's the date?
May 1st. I
Oh,
believe.
no, well, that's the bond date, but what's the reset date for a prelim? How long do y'all think it needs to be reset to get it to the C3?
3 weeks.
I was to say 2 or 3 weeks should be fine.
Okay,
May 9th? Should be on the.
I think that should be enough time.
Okay, May 9th at 1 p.m.
sounds good. She's like, I don't care, it's not me. Right.
The C3 will show up.
Right. All right. Best of luck to you, sir. And thank you, Mr. Law. All right, the other one is Mr. William Kelly Rhodes. It's position 7 and 8, 22 CP 214060, 152 days without indictment on both cases. On this one, you got a $14,200 good bond. You can go, I'm go ahead and move if you want.
Okay, we'll move to.
If you want, yeah. Possession, purchase, possession, control of controlled substance in Schedule 1 narcotic or Schedule 2. Possession of tools for a crime, criminal damage to property, second degree, burglary in the second degree, and possession of drug-related objects. Then we got 22 CP 214197, 152 days without indictment, $16,000 good bond as of March 20th on criminal damage to property in the second degree, burglary in the second degree, and possession of used tools for commission of a crime. Go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to go in order, if that's okay, Your Honor. I think they may overlap a little bit, but just for clarity in regards to cross-examination, I would like to go number 7 first. Last 3 is 060, and then I will go to number 8, number 197. I think that will be a little road mapping for the court because I think that'll be a little bit easier.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, officer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear Madam Court Reporter?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, yeah, just make sure you speak up for that microphone. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Where are you currently employed?
East Point Police Department.
And were you employed there on November the 15th, 2022?
Yes.
We will be starting with that one. So can you please tell me how you became aware on that date of William Kelly Rhodes?
So around 1:24 in the afternoon, officers received a call in reference to PPG employees observing a group of individuals stealing copper from the warehouse, the abandoned warehouse directly behind them. So when officers arrived on scene, the employees with PPG, which is located off of Oakley Street, was pointing directly behind them. So I advised dispatch I was going to canvass the area of Millage Street, which is adjacent to Oakley. While canvassing that location, I arrived at 1286 Millage Street, which is an abandoned warehouse, but it belongs to Direct Imports. It burned down. I could see at least two individuals through the awning next to another vehicle. So officers exited the vehicle. As we actually entered into the warehouse, I observed two white males and a white female on the back loading dock next to a Nissan Sentra. And then in the far west side of the building, I observed a black male next to an abandoned black Tahoe. We gave all individuals directives to get down on the ground, put their hands behind their back. Once we were able to safely secure or detain all people inside of the building, I identified one of the individuals as Mr. William Rhodes. Mr. Rhodes began having what appeared to be seizure-like activity. The female, who was identified as his mother, yelled out that he does suffer from seizures.
Yes. I apologize for interrupting, but there are two William Rhodeses involved. I would ask for the officer to use their middle name so that we could differentiate who she's speaking about.
Okay, so this is Kelly Rhodes, William Kelly Rhodes.
Okay, thanks. That's a little confusing.
It is.
It's not a very common name, but yeah.
So we had an ambulance en route.
I'm sorry, just before we go, for the record, for clarity.
Thank you.
No problem. For clarity. Who was the defendant in this case? Can you please give the full name?
William Kelly Rhodes.
Okay. And as you was previously testifying, who were you testifying about?
William Kelly Rhodes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Okay. So while waiting for the ambulance, we searched all individuals incident to arrest. When I searched Mr. Kelly Rhodes, I found a brown eyeglass case inside of his jacket pocket. Inside of that eyeglass case was, I believe, 4 syringes with one had a clear-like substance in it that was suspected to be heroin. And then there were 4 clear baggies with a brown powder-like substance inside, which was also suspected to be heroin. I asked Mr. Rhodes if he was a heroin user. He advised that he was, and the last time he used was around 11 a.m. So once paramedics got there, they were able to administer Narcan and advise officers that Kelly Rhodes his vital signs were stable, and they didn't observe anything that appeared to be seizure-like activity. So I went ahead and I Mirandized the rest of the parties. I observed inside the Nissan a copious amount of copper along with wiring that the copper comes out of. There was also broken light fixtures that you could retrieve copper out of. Copper was inside of the walls, which had been broken open. And on each individual also inside of the Nissan Sentra was cutting tools, like screwdrivers, things of that nature. On their persons and inside of the Nissan Sentra. I didn't speak further to Mr. Kelly Rhodes in reference to why they were there, but based on the co-defendants, they did state that they had permission from the owner. I believe they said his name was Tom, to be able to come in and get wiring as much as they pleased.
Did you ever make contact with Tom?
Tom didn't exist as far as I knew.
Did you, in finding out who owned the abandoned building, Did you ever determine there was a Tom in charge of the direct imports warehouse?
No.
And you said they were on a back loading dock. Can you explain that a little bit more? Were they inside the building? Were they outside the building? Can you explain a little bit more where they were when you actually came to the scene?
So the fence, it's all enclosed, but the lock had been broken. I can't attest to whether or not they broke the lock, but the lock was broken. So it allowed access for the vehicle to drive in, which is a huge vacant lot. But if you go behind the building, you can drive up onto what is similar to a loading dock, and it grants access into the entire building.
And with that loading dock did they enter into the building?
Yes, not with the vehicle, but they themselves entered into it.
And when you arrived on the scene, were they inside the warehouse?
So Kelly Rhodes, Joe Rhodes, and their mother, Patricia, were in the process of putting copper inside the trunk of the Nissan Sentra.
Did you see any doors that led into the warehouse?
No, they have, like, it's more like a garage type setting, and the garage doors were open.
Okay, and you said they were open?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how do you open? Is the big chain?
I'm not sure for that particular one that they were entering in and out of, but there were pulleys in the ceiling area.
And how many of these, let's say, rolling doors, was it on the back of the dock?
It was more than 4 for sure.
How many were open?
1.
The other 3 rolling doors, did you see any locking mechanisms on them?
No.
And you have a warrant for criminal damage to property. Please describe the basis for that warrant.
So as you stated previously, we had a serious uptick of copper thefts within the area in our local warehouses. One in particular being Owen, Illinois, which is located at 3107 Sylvan Road. There are multiple bolos that came out with pictures trying to identify the people involved. So once I detained Kelly Rhodes and I ran him through GCIC, it came back that he had an active warrant. So Detective Smith was able to positively identify Kelly Rhodes as one of the copper thieves at the Owen, Illinois location based on camera footage where they observed him and 2 other people breaking and entering into that location using different cutting tools to steal copper and loading it away. We were able to use his ID at SA Recycling, which is where they would take the copper and get money in exchange for it. So we were able to positively identify Kelly Rhodes with the ID that he showed as he frequented that location to retrieve the money.
Okay. And what was the address for the direct imports warehouse?
It is 1286 Millett Street,
And what county is that in?
Fulton.
And were you post certified at the time?
Yes.
Do you see William Kelly Rose in the courtroom?
You stand up if you need to. If everybody remove their mask.
He's the white male with the blue shirt on and black mask.
May the court recognize that she has positively identified the defendant?
Noted.
Now, for clarity, the criminal damage to property, what address is that for?
That's for 3107 Sylvan Road.
And Officer Bailey, are you the warrant writing officer in regards to this case?
No. For the, I'm sorry, for the 3107?
Yes, we're still talking about 1286. I'm sorry, and I know you went to 3187. And just for the record, Your Honor, Officer Bailey, we're still talking about 1286.
Yes.
I understand you went to the other one, and I didn't want to stop you.
Oh, I'm
but
sorry.
It's no problem. So we're gonna get there. All right.
Okay.
All right. So in regards to 1286 Miller Street, is that the direct imports warehouse?
Yes.
Okay. For that address, can you please describe the warrant for the rationale for the warrant, criminal damage to property?
Oh, okay. So, as I stated, light fixtures were torn, out of the ceiling, and there was damage to the walls, that weren't there previously.
Okay. And what was the amount of the damage?
It was a raw guesstimate, but over $500 for sure.
Can you please describe or discuss any training you had in regards to illegal drugs?
So
Sorry, excuse me.
that's fine. I've gone to interdiction classes, where we look for nothing but drugs and, special traps inside of vehicles to obtain drugs. Being able to pull drugs off the streets and positively identify them, based on their characteristics. And also sometimes I work with the special operations unit to do, buybacks and drug sales.
And why did you assume that the material inside the baggies was heroin?
Due to it being brown in color and powdery, those are the primary characteristics of heroin.
Syringes can be used for multiple reasons and valid medical reasons. Why were you concerned about the syringes in this case?
Because they were packaged with other narcotics, and Kelly Rhodes told me that that was heroin inside of the syringe.
Once drugs or drug-related objects are obtained during an investigation, what are the next steps for the East Point Police Department?
So we place them into evidence with a GBI submission form. And once that's submitted, our evidence tech will take it down to GBI for testing.
And was that done in this case?
It was.
And I have no further questions in regards to position number 7. Counsel, Your Honor, I'm not sure, you want me to go through both of them and you want to do it at one time? Or do you want to go ahead and cross-examine now?
I think you can go ahead and do both cases and then I'll cross-examine on
Okay,
both
just want to
cases.
make sure, is that okay with the court, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, officer, in regards to, the additional case that we have involving William Kelly Rose. Were you employed by East Point Police Department on October 21st, 2022?
Yes.
And please tell me what you learned in regards to William Kelly Rose for the date of October 21st, 2022.
So as I stated previously, once I was able to successfully detain Kelly Rhodes and I ran him through GCIC, I was made aware that he did have an active warrant for a criminal trespass, possession of tools during the commission of a crime, and it was one other charge. We had a serious uptick of copper thefts within the area in our local warehouses. There were several bolos that came out with pictures of individuals that needed to be identified. I remember one of those bolos, including the face of Kelly Rhodes. So I spoke with Detective Smith because he was over the Owen, Illinois copper thieves, which is located at 3107 Sylvan Road. He advised me that he was able to review cameras that the owner put up. They're like deer cameras to try to catch the thieves in the act. And from those cameras, he observed Kelly Rhodes along with at least two other individuals breaking and entering into Owen, Illinois. They use a series of cutting tools to cut copper outside of the walls, the lights. And then he was able to go down to SA Recycling, which is typically where the copper thieves would take the copper in exchange for money. And he located a license belonging to Kelly Rhodes and was able to positively identify Kelly Rhodes as being one of the suspects on a bolo that he'd sent out. I was also able to positively identify that the Kelly Rhodes I had on scene November 15th was also the Kelly Rhodes in the bolo that Detective Smith had sent out back in October.
And can you state the name of the business again, please?
It's Owens, Illinois.
And on a camera, was the camera in color?
No, it wasn't, but it's in black and white, but it's really good quality, if that makes sense. Like you could definitely tell the race of each individual that was on scene.
And on the camera, what do you see?
So on one still shot, which was on the bolo, you could see Kelly Rhodes, another white female, and then a black male entering through the backside of Owen, Illinois from Montel Homes, which is the project area in East Point. Then on the camera itself, you can see them using cutting tools to break into a back door located on the premises. And then they're cutting copper out of the walls and light fixtures, and some other type of like silver wiring. And then they're loading up in their book bags and then walking back out into the field area.
Through your investigation, did you ever determine was Kelly Rhodes an employee of Owens, Illinois?
No.
Did he have permission to be on the property at any time?
No.
During the time that this occurred, was the business open to the public?
No.
During the time that this occurred, did Kelly Rhodes reside anywhere near, or did he reside inside of Owens, Illinois?
No.
What was the cost of the damage to the property?
Mr. Orwell, which is the owner of Owen, Illinois, estimated the theft being over $500.
And for the record, can you please spell Mr. Orwell's name?
O as in ocean, Robert, Edward, Lima, Lima, so Orell.
And did you view the video from Owen, Illinois?
I did not, no.
Did you discuss this case with Detective Smith?
I did.
And was he able to identify William Kelly Rhodes?
Yes.
And do you see for this case, William Kelly Rhodes in the courtroom?
Yes, he's a white male with the blue scrub top and the black mask over his face.
And the court recognizes he has positively identified Mr. Rhodes.
Noted.
Mr. Kelly Rhodes. What is the address for Owens, Illinois?
It's 3107 Sylvan Road,
And what county is that in?
Fulton.
were you post-certified during this investigation?
Yes.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Cross.
Good afternoon, officer. Okay, I would like to start with position 7 on the calendar, which is case 22 CP 214060. It is the incident that happened on November 15th, 2022. You testified that employees of PPG called 911. Is that correct?
Yes.
What does PPG stand for?
It's a paint company. That's all I know.
Oh, okay. And when you arrived on scene, you encountered individuals inside the warehouse. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And were you the officer that searched William Kelly Rhodes' incident to arrest?
I don't believe so.
Do you know who searched him?
Officer Cruz.
Do you know if tools were found on William Kelly Rhodes' person?
Yes.
They were?
Yes.
What was found?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you have your police report with you today?
Yes.
Okay. Now, were these tools taken into evidence?
I don't recall.
Okay. Are you aware of whether or not these tools were fingerprinted on scene?
They were not.
And refresh my memory, did you say that you interviewed William Kelly Rhodes or you did not interview him?
I did not interview him in reference to the theft.
Okay. But you did interview other individuals?
Yes,
And did you interview William Joseph Rhodes?
I did.
And what was the statement that he gave you?
He said that his friend Tom allows them to come and get the copper as much as they want.
Okay. And did you verify whether or not this Tom existed?
I tried to. I didn't have anyone to speak to confirm whether or not a Tom existed.
Did William Joseph Rhodes give you any contact information?
He didn't have it.
Okay. Did you identify who the Nissan Sentra belonged to?
Yeah, the Nissan Sentra belonged to their mother.
And who is that?
Patricia, her last name, Sanders, Patricia Sanders.
Okay. Now, at this direct import warehouse at 1286 Millage Street, were there surveillance cameras?
No.
Okay. You testified on direct that there was damage to the warehouse that was not there previously. Can you explain how you know that?
So Mr. Eric Mason confirmed that they had cut some of the tools out. I mean, not the tools, I'm sorry, used the tools to cut copper out. That's how they were able to retrieve the copper out of the walls and light fixtures.
Okay. Do you typically respond to let me rephrase. On direct, you testified that there has been a copper problem in the warehouse district. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you typically respond to those types of calls?
Yes.
So would you say you have experience in looking at copper wiring in warehouses and knowing what it's worth?
Only based on what Mr. Oral guesstimated his damages to be, because his warehouse was the one that was targeted the most.
Okay, so is it a fair statement to say that you estimated the damage to 1286 Millage Street based upon the statement given to you by the owner of a different warehouse?
Yes.
Okay. On direct, you testified that the drugs were sent to the GBI and tested. Do you know if the results came back?
I do not.
Okay, moving on to the incident from October 21st, 2022, which is case number 22 CP 214197. You testified that on scene of the November incident, that an active warrant popped up for Mr. William Kelly Rhodes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that included a bolo?
Yes.
Okay. About the October incident, you stated that there were, I think I heard you say deer cameras.
Yes.
Where were they located on the property?
So he has them on the back of the warehouse and on different trees along the wood line.
So approximately how many cameras are there?
I don't know.
And are you aware of whether or not every camera was running and recording?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you know how many cameras that you or that Detective Smith watched?
No.
Earlier you testified about I believe, SA recycling. Was that correct?
Yes.
Do you know what SA recycling stands for?
I don't.
And was it you or Detective Smith that looked into a license for SA recycling for William Kelly Rhodes?
Detective Smith.
Okay. Now, there were 3 individuals that were captured on these deer cameras. Is that correct?
Yes.
You testified that it was William Kelly Rhodes, 1 white female and 1 black male.
Yes.
Did you identify the white female?
I did with the investigation. It has nothing to do with either of these.
Okay. And what is that white female's name?
I don't have a case pulled up, but if you want me to look for it, I can get it.
That is all right. Do you know the name of the black male?
No, as far as I know, he's unidentified.
Okay. Are you aware of whether or not the white female was arrested for charges regarding this incident?
I do not know. Once I determined her identity, I sent it over to Detective Smith. But like I said, she was charged in an unrelated case that I worked.
Okay. Are you aware of whether or not anything was recovered from the October 21st scene?
According to the victim, Mr. Kevin Orrell, they left back several cutting tools, including but not limited to utility knife, 3 bolt cutters, and a Sawzall reciprocating saw.
And those were recovered for evidence, correct?
Yes.
Okay, do you know if they were fingerprinted?
I don't.
Can I have 1 moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Okay, no further questions.
All right, any redirect?
You'll redirect the meeting, Your Honor. I ask that the officer be allowed to leave, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Stay safe out there.
Thanks.
All right, go ahead with the argument.
I will submit on the evidence and I will respond to the argument from the defense counsel, Your Honor.
Ms. Rondon?
Your Honor, regarding position 7, 22 CP 214060, we understand probable cause is a low threshold, so we will submit based upon the officer's testimony. For position 8, 22 CP 214197. Again, we will submit based upon the officer's testimony.
All right, so we found probable cause on all counts on both of these. You want to go ahead and address bond since it was the 20th of March or no?
Yes, I would like to address bond, please.
All right. Preach. Rah.
In regards to Mr. Rhodes.
Yeah, make sure it says William Kelly. Because there's two
Well,
of them.
that's the problem. I mean, look, they probably did not do a differentiation. When they ran the history, they probably just saw William Rhodes. Let me see what this one says. Yeah, this one is for William Kelly.
Okay, go ahead.
11 prior arrests, old purchase, manufacturing, sale. And Coweta currently on probation for 2022 tools, 10/25/2022 for 5 years. And then a theft by taking 10/25/22 for 10 years. Nothing further.
Ms. Rhonda, where's he gonna live?
Your Honor,
Carroll County? Is that where you live, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Villa
Yes.
Rica?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the address on file is the correct address, 55 Tyson Court, Villa Rica, Georgia. Mr. Kelly, William Kelly Rhodes is 45 years old. He is married and has 3 kids, ages 16 through 27. He has his GED. He also has extended family in the Georgia and Villa Rica area, his brother, dad, mom. Prior to his arrest, he was not working. He suffers from seizures and he takes medications for his seizures. He also has a injured back from a work injury and several years ago. And so the combination of the back injury and the seizures prevent him from obtaining employment. So he really relies upon his family for support. He has attempted to get disability, but being in custody has interfered with that process. He currently does have bonds in these cases. Position 7, he's got a $14,200 bond. Because of his circumstances, that is not a bond that he can afford. I would be asking Your Honor to essentially cut that bond in half. Have bond not to exceed $7,000. For position 8, he also has a bond currently at $16,000 for the same reasons I stated for position 7. Mr. Rhodes cannot afford that. And so I would be asking Your Honor to cut that bond in half as well and have bond not to exceed $8,000.
Says the state.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
That's okay.
I just wanted to defer to my client for a while. And Your Honor, we are concerned in regards to the protection of the public property, Your Honor, and small business owners, Your Honor. I asked the officer, it was a rash of copper thieves that was going on. It was happening a lot. They knew where it happened. They knew who was doing it. Since he has been in custody, it has stopped, Your Honor. So we are concerned that upon release, he will start doing the exact same thing. I understand he is here, he's innocent until proven he's guilty, but at the same time, we are concerned that once he was in custody, all this that was going on in the community and in the small business where you had to put your own gear cameras up itself, stopped. The actual owner, Kevin Orrell, he had remained in contact with the police officers, letting them know that it had been 3 weeks without any activity. He wanted to express his gratitude to the officers, appreciation for all their hard work to ensure, and his exact words are, y'all rock, keep working hard. We have stopped somebody who was doing this to this community where the officer had to, where the actual owner of the Owens, Illinois manufacturing business had to get in contact with officers on a regular basis. That is a concern for the court, and that's a concern that we would definitely want on the record, that he have no contact with any business unless he is working there, or he is employed by that business, Your Honor. We also will say that we would like a stay away from Fulton County, Your Honor. And unless he is directly working for a manufacturing company, he is not allowed to enter onto properties to remove the property, Your Honor. That's just a concern that we have.
Okay. All right. Let's see, positions, see what I got pulled up. Position 7, NNN 060. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 126 Millage Street in East Point. Stay out of Fulton County. Don't come back to Fulton County, sir, unless you have court or to see your lawyer. Also, stay out of East Point. There should be no reason for you to go to East Point anyway, because you weren't, your case is transferred here and it's in Superior Court. So you have absolutely no reason to go back to East Point. Let's see, you're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of your employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. You have to spell that to the ankle monitoring company and to Ms. Rhonda. No further contact with Patricia Sanders, Sanders. Live in Carroll County, yep. So as long as you come back to Fulton County, sir, you can't get gas, can't get a snack, so stop and fill up before, what's that? Cobb County or Douglas County says you don't run out of gas, get a flat tire, any snacks, no Chick-fil-A, no Chipotle, no any of that good stuff we got out here. All right. So we got 2,000 count 1, 1,000 count 2, 2,000 count 3, 5,000 count 4, and $100 for count 5. On position 8. Ending in 4197. Let me pull that bond. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer. Same thing. No gas, no snacks, no nothing. Only reason you come to Fulton County is to see your lawyer or come to court. Don't go back to East Point for any reason whatsoever. Should be no legitimate reason for you to go back there. No further contact with Kevin Morrell. Did you see how to spell Morrell on her phone?
She's gone.
All right, I'm the absolute worst speller in the world.
If I remember correctly, it's ORELL.
Okay, thank you. All right, you're gonna have ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, or like I said, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, a schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. Stay away from 3107 Silver Road in Atlanta, Georgia. The ankle monitor will be paid for by the county, yeah. All right, yeah. So I know for the contact with Kevin O'Reilly. So we got 3,000 on count 1, 8,000 count 2, and $500 on count 3. Best of luck to you, sir. Let's see. So what officers do we have for which cases here?
Yes, Your Honor, we have, position number 2 is here, and position number 3 is here.
2 and 3. So who's this investigator Paul's on the, which case are you here on, Investigator Paul's? Sharon Paul's?
She's with.
Oh, okay. All right, all right.
She's an investigator.
Okay, gotcha. So real quick, let's talk here. So before we keep Ms. Smith sitting here all day, what about the, so we got one for Curtis, but what about the officer on Dexter Freeland?
Dexter Freeland is the same officer as Officer C. Watson. Can I have a moment to step out and talk to my investigator, Your Honor, please?
Okay, so you got C. Watson. Hold on, because there may be one more. What about, let's see, no, that's it, right?
That's it.
Yeah, see what's going on with C. Watson. All right.
One moment, please, Your Honor.
Okay, so do you want us to go ahead and take Ms. Rondon since it's her last case, Ms. Smith, or I think, okay, so we'll take Barry Nelson.
Barry Nelson.
Yeah. Go ahead, you can call. What again?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Who's here on the Barry Nelson? Come on up.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, okay, how you doing? All right.
In Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
I do have a witness present for the defense for Mr. Barry Nelson.
Okay, all right.
I can make that announcement again when the state's
Okay,
in the room.
yeah. That's fine. Let's see. And we'll address his bond, so it looks like it was addressed in
I think it was
January,
January.
right? I'm good. How about yourself? All right, we'll wait till he gets back. You can have a seat till he gets back on.
All right.
Yeah, don't worry about standing up.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. My investigator is looking into that position right now, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. So this is position 2, Barry Jerome Nelson, 22, CP 212126, aggravated battery and aggravated assault, 223 days without indictment. There's a $200,000 good bond as of January the 9th.
And AJ McCalkey, now that you're in the room, I just wanted to let you know, I do have a witness present for this case, for the defense.
All right, so, sir, if you can step outside, they'll come get you when they want to call you. You, yeah, you gotta step outside?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you. All right, officer, if you raise your right hand,
Yes,
do you
ma'am.
swear affirm testimony about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, if you state and spell your name for the court reporter?
Name is Detective Mustafa. Last name is Mustapha.
All right, go ahead, Mr. McCoy.
Detective, where are you currently employed?
City of Atlanta Police, sir.
And were you employed on, you good?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Were you employed with them on May 27, 2022?
Yes, sir.
And how did you become aware of Nelson Barry?
Barry Nelson.
Barry Nelson.
Sorry.
I became aware of Mr. Barry Nelson when I was assigned the case and I was doing my investigation since then.
And through your investigation, what did you learn?
During my investigations, hardly be obstacles, but during my final investigation, I was able to learn that Mr. Barry Nelson, which is the brother of the victim, was responsible for the incident that occurred to my victim.
And what's the name of your victim?
My victim name is Craig Nelson.
And can you please tell me what happened?
Well, on the day, I guess on the actual date of the incident, the victim, according to primary police report, it was advised that an ambulance had relocated the location and pick up the victim, but it looked like the victim had suffered a head injury to the back of his head and with his left eye, I believe, was busted. So he was transported to Grady. But during my investigation, well, the day after, I guess the victim's aunt, Ms. Deidra Nelson, I believe spells as Diedra, if I'm not mistaken, Nelson, which is the victim's aunt. She had relocated to the Zone 1 precinct and made a police report about the incident, about what happened.
And what did Miss Nelson inform the officers of?
Miss Nelson advised that her nephew was attacked, and he was currently at Grady Hospital in intensive care.
And who attacked her nephew?
At that time, I'm sure Miss Nelson was not properly aware of who did it because she wasn't there, but she was she has all those bits and stories from people in the area. But at that time, she never knew who did it.
Okay. After Ms. Nelson made her report, did you learn anything else through this investigation?
Yes, sir. After I learned this, after Ms. Nelson made this report, I learned a lot of variables on this report. I even spoke to a friend of the victim that stays in the complex. I spoke to another resident that stayed in the complex, and also canvassed that area, trying to look for surveillance and camera. Even the leasing complex did have a camera, but they was not able to capture anything. But I think I spoke to Mr. Ed, if I'm not mistaken, Ed that stays in the building over there. I spoke with him.
And what is his full name?
Who, Mr. Ed?
Yes.
Stand by 1 second. Ed Griffin.
And is that a common spelling for last name? I-N?
Yes, sir. Griffin.
Thank you. And when you spoke to Ed Griffin, did you learn what happened between Barry Nelson and Craig Nelson?
When I spoke with him, Ed did not tell me anything what happened between the victim and his brother, but he mentioned about something else, which I cannot really recall, but I think I put that on my case notes. But he never, at that time, he never mentioned anything about between the brothers.
Okay. Did you ever learn what happened between Barry Nelson and Craig Nelson?
Yes, sir.
And what did you learn?
Well, I learned eventually when the victim was able to gain conscience, they removed the trace from his throat. And
hold on, just a step back.
Yes.
They removed what from his throat?
The trait. There's a trait they put inside. Yeah, they finally removed the trait from his throat, and he was able to communicate little by little as days go by.
Okay.
I relocated down to it's a special care down, I believe it's on Juniper Street, selective care. Okay. I went down there, and in his own words, even though he was struggling, his aunt was there in my presence, and he mentioned that the person that was, before even I got there, he already mentioned this to his aunt. So his aunt called me, and I left the office sometime later on just so I can get what she said. I went over there and I spoke with him, and he told me his brother was responsible for hitting him in the back of the head with a rock, and he fell down. I'm assuming at that time when he fell down, that's when he damaged his left eye.
And which brother was he talking about?
He was talking about his brother, Mr. Barry Nelson.
And was he cognizant at the moment when you were talking with him?
Yeah, he was struggling, but he knows what he was saying, and he said it again. I made sure he said it again, and hear it in front of his aunt.
And did he discuss the size of the rock?
He especially, I believe he said that the victim, the suspect, picked up the rock from the ground and hit him in the back of the head.
How old is the victim?
Mr. Craig, sir, Mr. Craig, I believe, was born in it's about 10/22/57. From down there, I believe he might be, Mr. Craig might be in his 60s, or I believe so, 60s, if I'm not mistaken.
And did he discuss what occurred? Were they fighting? Was it an argument? Did you discuss what happened prior to this?
I know it's been a minute, but if I can recall, I think it's something about money. He wanted him to give him some money or something, and
Who wanted who to give the money?
the accused wanted the brother, a victim, Mr. Craig Nelson, to give him some money, and I guess Mr. Craig did not have some. I guess that's where the dispute started, and he picked up a rock and hit him on the back of the head.
And when you were speaking to him, can you describe any injuries?
Yes, from day one when I met him, I downgraded because when we got a case like this, you got to go to downgrade. His injuries was just gruesome. As a matter of fact, I tried to wanted to put Crime Stopper tips at that time, but my supervisor denied that because the injuries were so gruesome. He had us at the time. His left eye was just out of shape. But the back head, his head was taped up. So I can't look at the head really, but it was taped up.
And to your best of your knowledge, did he ever regain vision to his left eye?
Not that I know for sure, sir. I know they told me the eye was gone.
So that I was gone?
He lost sight of that.
Oh, he lost, okay, he
Yes,
lost
ma'am.
sight. Okay, thank you.
What was the address that this occurred at?
It's Payne Avenue. It's called 583 Payne Street or Payne's Avenue.
And what county is that in?
Fulton County, sir.
And were you post certified at the time?
Yes, sir.
When you spoke with Mr. Nelson, how did he identify? When you spoke with Craig Nelson, let me rephrase. When you spoke with Craig Nelson, how did he identify Barry Nelson?
He first identified him as his brother, and then I presented a single picture of him because that's his brother. Now, another since they're little, I presented a picture of him in front of his aunt, and he advised that was his brother. That was his brother, Barry Nelson.
And was he able to see out of his right eye?
Yes, sir. He was able to see out of his right eye, and the only thing is hands. He was not able to move his hands that much. But with the permission, he advised his aunt, if I can remember that station, his aunt signed the picture for him.
And through your investigation, were you ever able to determine, were there any witnesses to this?
I wasn't able to get an exact witness to this. No, sir.
Did, through this investigation, did anybody call in with information in regards to this?
Yeah, so we had two people. Mr. Ed was one of them. I think he spoke with the victim's aunt. But then when I relocated there, all he told me it wasn't relevant to my investigation because you said, I don't know if you say so who did it, never said who did it or some. And there was another gentleman by the name of Big Phil. He was trying to get I know he's trying to contact Crime Stoppers, never did, but never gave me information, was just run about the Crime Stoppers team. So I kind of avoided all that.
And I know you said you canvassed the apartment complex. Was you ever able to find any video for that captured the incident?
No, sir.
And speaking with family members, did they discuss the case with you?
The family members, all family members I spoke with was Mr. Deanna Nelson's, the aunt of Mr. Craig Nelson.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Cross?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Did you bring reports with you today to testify?
Yes, please.
What do you have with you?
I have my police reports, ma'am.
Okay. Do you also have with you the arrest warrant that you took out?
Yeah, I don't have a copy of the arrest warrant.
Okay, I kind of want to start very beginning. What was the exact day that this incident occurred?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was on the 26th.
May 26th?
Yes, May 26, 2022.
Do you have an approximate time?
Don't have an approximate time, was it might be midday, man, between 12 and 1. Between 12 and 1 p.m.
Okay, between 12 and 1 p.m. Now, was a 911 call made in reference to this attack?
The advice when they made the police report to the officers the next day that a 911 was called, but ambulance came by and picked up the victim, but the police never responded to the location.
Did you verify whether or not police responded?
I have no information on that on any reports made as police ever responded to the location, ma'am.
So it was on May the 27th that a Miss Deirdre Nelson came to make a police report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and she was the one that told you that someone else made a 911 call?
She said that on the police report. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you ever identify who made the 911 call?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Bigfield.
Mr. Big Philly?
Yes, ma'am, but he didn't want to get involved too much. But Bigfield made that 911 call, or Mr. Ed, one of them.
Did you identify the government name for Mr. Big Philly?
I believe I do. I cannot remember, but I think I did, ma'am.
Is it in your reports?
Yes, probably.
If you need a second to look, please take all the time you need.
All right, I'm not able to see that at this time. So it's a lot. I'm not able to see that, man. Yes.
Okay, I understand. Now, did Miss Deirdre Nelson come in to make the police report by herself?
She went to the Zone 1 precinct, I believe, to make the report to the officers, not me, ma'am. She made it to the officers, not to me.
I understand. So do you know whether or not she was alone when she made the report?
I'm not sure if it was alone. I think her husband could have escorted her down there. I'm not sure, ma'am.
Okay. I'm looking at the arrest warrant that you took out in this case, and your arrest warrant states that a Mr. Spencer Parker, husband of Miss Deirdre Nelson, did accompany her to the precinct. And according to the warrant, it says that he reported that he was told a man by the name of Tony had a physical altercation with Ms.
Objection, the counsel is testifying. If she would like to refresh his recollection, she can. I didn't get the question.
You want to show them the warrant?
Yes. May I approach?
Absolutely.
I will strike what I said. And Detective, please take all the time you need to refresh your recollection with the arrest warrant.
Yes, ma'am. And what line were you looking at, please, if you don't?
I am looking at it's gonna be the first paragraph on your arrest warrant, approximately line 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, line 9 and 10.
Line 9 and 10?
Yes, start counting down from underneath probable cause.
Would that be the police officer's report or my report or my case notes? That's what I was checking on.
I believe the heading says Officer Chisum, that's spelled CHISUM, primary police report.
Officer Johnson? Johnson?
The paragraph above that.
You can point to it if you think it'll help, Ms. Rhonda.
Yeah.
If you, yes, please, I beg, I can. There's a lot going on here. Okay. Okay, that's Officer Chisum's police report, not mine.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But can you tell me what Mr. Spencer said within Miss Officer Chisum's police report?
Spencer address.
Your Honor, she's asking him to testify to another officer.
He wrote it within his own arrest warrant.
Yeah, it's wording in on his own arrest warrant, so let's go read what's there. Go ahead.
The same Mr. Nelson Neighbors called him. He also, he advises when he went through his phone, he realized was it 1321?
Mumble, you kind of got to say it so the court can take it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So the husband, Mr. Spencer Parker, advises when he went through his phone, he realized it was exactly at 1321 when Mr. Nelson's neighbor called him. He also advises a camera outside of the apartment building could have captured the incident. He advises the neighbor, Bigfield, told him about a black male by the name of Tony, who was known for having a physical altercation with Mr. Nelson recently and could be potential suspect for this incident.
Now, did you ever follow up to find out who this Tony individual was?
I wasn't able to find, we tried to find Mr. Tony. Mr. Bigfield didn't give me any information that much. Said he was looking for whoever this Tony was. He doesn't know, he doesn't see him. Yes, I tried.
Okay. Okay, now I want to move on to another part of the arrest warrant that you wrote in which Miss Deirdre Nelson, the reporting party, spoke to an Officer C. Johnson and made a statement. Do you see that on your arrest warrant?
Yes.
Can you please read what Miss Nelson stated on June 1st of 2022?
Okay. All right. On 6/1/2022, I contacted Ms. Deandra Nelson, niece of the victim, who stated she received a call while at a graduation that her uncle, Mr. Craig Nelson, was beaten badly and left on the street near 583 Penn Street. Mrs. Nelson stated that she was told her uncle, Craig Nelson, and the young lady was in a verbal dispute at 583 Penn Street when the female's boyfriend approached Mr. Nelson and began beating him and dragging him in the street. Mrs. Nelson stated that no one she has spoken with has the name or description of the suspect or the young lady. Mrs. Nelson stated that after receiving this information, she went to the hospital and was told her uncle suffered a crushed skull and his eyes was dismembered and is currently on life support. Mrs. Nelson advised that the doctors were unsure if he would survive.
Thank you, Detective. Did you follow up on trying to identify the young lady that was seen in a verbal dispute with Mr. Craig Nelson?
Yes, I did.
Did you identify any such person?
I identified a female that stays at the location upstairs. I checked the car and everything, and I wasn't able to get anything from that, but I did that investigation. I know the female that stays up there.
Fantastic. So you have a name for her?
I don't have a name and everything, ma'am, but I believe that information was not even pertinent. I don't know if they made that up or something, but yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you have that name on you or do you recall that name?
Yes, I have that name. It should be somewhere on my report, ma'am.
Take all the time you need to find the name, please.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. I do have a name on the report. It's McQueen Tyler. Miss McQueen, who spells as MIQUN Tyler. TILLER.
Okay, and did you ever interview this individual?
I was investigating her, but from my investigation, I can't tell if she was the one who, since there's been so much everybody giving one pertinent information to another.
Okay, did you speak to her directly?
I didn't speak to her directly. I don't believe so, ma'am.
Understood. And it's possible you might have already said this, but just to be very clear, did you interview personally the individual known as Big Philly?
I spoke with Big Philly on the phone. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what date did you speak to Big Philly on the phone?
Cannot recall, but she'll be on here, but I did spoke with Big Philly. 1 second. That would be on June the 3rd of 2022.
All right, was your phone conversation recorded?
At that time, it wasn't recorded, ma'am.
Okay. To the best of your ability, can you tell us what Big Philly told you on the phone on June 3rd, 2022?
Well, is it okay for me to read what I put on there? The contact was made with the caller reporter, Mr. Field, that he was informed how an unknown male had pulled up in a gray vehicle and walked towards the victim, assaulted him, and then left the location. Mr. Field advised he's still looking for the male that provided him with that information. Mr. Field stated that he will provide the subject my contact information for him to reach out to me once contact is made. Mr. Field advised he wanted to remain anonymous for now by not providing his real name.
Thank you so much. Did you follow up on the gray vehicle mentioned by Mr. Big Philly?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to find out information about the gray vehicle?
The vehicle was, I believe, was registered, or some vehicle. It could have been any other vehicle, but there was a gray vehicle over there that I checked that belonged to Miss McQueen Tyler, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Okay. And during direct, you mentioned surveillance footage. Did you state that there was no footage of the incident?
There was no footage of the incident. I spoke with the leasing manager at the location. I did relocate over there, and she said you're going to check. When she checked, she wasn't able to get anything that would have captured that incident, ma'am.
Okay. But were there cameras in general that were around the area?
There was 2 cameras.
Okay.
One in the front and one in the back. And never captured anything. There's one right in front of the leasing office, which is for the back inside. And there's one in the back on the back of the building.
Okay. You stated the leasing manager reviewed this ring footage. Did you watch the footage?
I didn't even see the footage. She said she's gonna provide me, and she said never saw anything.
Did she provide you this footage?
The only footage she showed me was when people was walking by. I think there was somebody walking by, and during that time, a victim actually was captured on the camera earlier on during the day before this incident.
Okay, so just to be clear, she showed you the footage, but she did not give you a copy of it.
She showed me footage of the victim earlier on during the day. She never showed me of the incident.
Did you get a copy of this footage?
I'm not certain. It's been a while, man. Maybe I believe maybe I have a footage of when she showed me of earlier on during the day. I probably do. I probably have something like that, I would believe. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you stated earlier that you did interview, I believe your quote was a friend of the victim and a resident of the complex. Did I hear that correctly?
Where would that be?
You stated it on direct.
Stand by 1 second, man. I'm trying to see that.
Take all the time you need.
Is it possible you can show me that section, or you said a friend on it?
I'm sorry, it's not from your report. On direct, you testified when answering a question by the state that you interviewed a friend of the victim and a resident of the complex when investigating this incident.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Who exactly was the friend of the victim that you identified?
It's Mr. Ed Griffin.
Ed Griffin?
Mhm.
Okay. And when you spoke to him, he provided you a statement.
Yes, ma'am.
What was his statement?
Well, Mr. Ed, we had a long discussion. I can't remember precisely, but he was saying, I don't know if he said he wasn't there when it happened with somebody. He wasn't there when the incident happened. And Mr. Ed, he said Mr. Ed stated that he never saw what happened, but was notified, and that the victim's brother was at this place of residence at the time when the incident occurred. I was hoping to gain some intel from our conversation, but nothing came out of that.
Okay, so this Mr. Ed Griffin, he told you when you interviewed him that Mr. Barry Nelson was with him at the time of the incident.
That's what he said.
That is what he said.
Yes.
Okay. And who was the resident of the complex that you interviewed?
Mr. Ed.
Oh, they're the same person.
No, Mr. Ed, the complex that I went into that I spoke with was Mr. Ed Griffin. That was his apartment unit. That's who I went into spoke with. I think he lives in number 1.
Okay, I understand.
Mhm.
Did you interview any other neighbors that lived at that apartment complex?
Nobody seems to talk, man. Nobody seems to talk. There was a gentleman who lives on the other side of the building. He wanted to know what happened. And that was it.
Okay. Did you interview Mr. Barry Nelson?
Mr. Barry Nelson, can't get Mr. Barry Nelson. He wasn't here.
Okay. At any point in your investigation, have you had a conversation with Mr. Barry Nelson?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I would like to talk about your interview with Mr. Craig Nelson. What date approximately did you interview him?
The day, stand by one so I can give you the precise date, because it should be in my notes, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That would be July the 13th, 2022.
Okay, so that is approximately 2 months after the incident date.
26. About a month and a half.
Okay, a month and a half. Are you aware of when Mr. Craig Nelson gained consciousness?
I can't tell you exactly when did he gain consciousness because I believe he was like ready.
Okay. So on July 13th, 2022, you went to, I believe you said it was Select Care, and you interviewed Mr. Craig Nelson.
Yes.
Okay. And he told you in his statement that he was hit in the back of the head. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did he describe anything prior to him being hit in the back of the head?
He mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, that they had some argument about money, body. He didn't give me some money to the accused. Then when he did give and told him he had no money, that's when the accused strike him and they accused Mr. Barry Nelson, struck him in the head with a brick.
Okay. So from your understanding, based on what Mr. Craig Nelson's told you, Mr. Barry Nelson and Mr. Craig Nelson were standing face to face, having a verbal argument.
I can't say standing face to face.
Speculation.
Gonna rephrase.
Sure. Did Mr. Craig Nelson tell you whether or not he was facing Mr. Barry Nelson during this verbal argument?
I'm not sure, but they were having an argument. I don't know if they were standing face to face or back tone. I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you know if any sort of weapon, whether it be a rock, brick, anything, was recovered from the incident scene?
Well, mind you, the incident happened on 26 and 27. They reported this incident. So when I went down there, I looked around the area, not able to find anything, but they do have rocks in that area, man.
Okay. No further questions at this time.
Anything else from the state?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor. I would request that I would like to not release this officer at this time, just and hold him as a possible rebuttal witness, Your Honor.
Okay, that's fine. You got a witness, you said?
I do.
Okay. You wanna step down, officer? and-
Yes, Judge. Yes, ma'am.
I'll grab him from outside.
Okay. James, go outside.
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah, if you don't mind stepping outside. Come on up, sir. Sir.
Mr. Howard, you can put your bag down. I'm gonna come have you sit up here. Watch your step, there's a little bit.
Right hand. Do you swear from the testimony that you're gonna give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
CP, state and spell your first and last name for the record, please.
Go ahead, state and
How you
spell your
doing, Your
name.
Honor?
I'm doing well. Go ahead and state and spell your name for the court reporter.
Say again?
State and spell your name for the court reporter.
Oh, my name is Edward Boyne Howard Jr. That's my full name.
Good morning, Mr. Howard.
Yes,
I'm going to ask you to lean forward and speak very clearly into the microphone because there's a court reporter that's going to be taking down everything that you say. Okay?
okay.
Okay. And Mr. Howard, have we met before?
Say again?
Have we met before?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Do you know Mr. Barry Nelson?
Yes, I do.
How do you know Mr. Barry Nelson?
Well, he lives in the same apartment complex I do and lives right behind me.
Okay, so his apartment is directly touching your apartment?
Yes, it's all together. It's only 9 units. It's a small apartment complex.
Understood.
Mhm.
And I would like to ask you about an incident that occurred May 27th of 2022. Do you remember something that happened on that day?
No, you got the date wrong. It was Thursday, May 26th.
I apologize.
No,
Thursday,
I
May
didn't say-
26th.
You're trying to get May 26th, 2022 last year.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
You have a great memory. I would like to direct your attention to approximately midday on Thursday, May 26th. Were you home?
Yes, I were.
Okay. Did you come in contact with Mr. Barry Nelson?
Yes, I did on that day.
Okay. Please tell the court how you came into contact with Mr. Barry Nelson on the 26th around midday.
What I'm gonna do is start from the beginning.
No, sir. You're going to answer her question.
Say again?
I want you to answer her question. Don't start from the beginning. Just
Okay,
answer
what do
the
you
question.
want?
Please start with the first contact that you had with Mr. Barry Nelson on Thursday, May 26th.
Well, I was sitting on my sofa and it was a warm day and I had both of my doors open, my front door and my back door. And that I heard a commotion in the back of me. And it sounded like 4, 5, 6 people. And then at that time I'm sitting on my sofa, I'm just sitting, and watching TV and I was sipping off me a little bourbon, yes. And that Mr. Barry Nelson came in from the back door about 5 minutes after that, after I heard the commotion. All right. And then I said, what is all that going on back there? He sit beside me, we watch TV. Well, he said he didn't know.
Okay.
But
I don't mean to cut you off, but
I'm trying to answer the question, but
Of
I'm
course.
trying to get some details in here.
So we don't need as many details.
I appreciate the details. So Mr. Barry Nelson came to your apartment and sat down on your couch. Is that
Right,
correct?
Right.
Okay. And then what happened next?
Well, I asked him, what was that all commotion back there? He said, I don't know. So we watched TV. And then at that time, about 5 minutes later, his brother, well, it said 5 minutes or so, Craig Nelson came in to my front door and said, hey, y'all, I'm finna go to the store and I'll be right back.
Yeah.
What's that?
Stand by. Go ahead.
And I'll be right back.
Hold on, Mr.
Uh-oh.
Howard. I mean, hearsay is allowed at a preliminary hearing.
It is allowed on a preliminary hearing, Your Honor, but I believe that he is talking about third person hearsay, Your Honor.
But he said he came into his house and he told him. Okay.
So, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. His brother came in and said, well, we're sitting in, on my sofa.
Told you he was going
And
to the
they say,
store.
I'm going in and now I'm going to the store. I'm going to the store. I'll be right back. All right. It was like 10 minutes later.
I apologize. I'm going to interrupt you very quickly. So Mr. Craig Nelson told you that he was going to the store, and then did he in fact leave to go to the store?
Yes, he left out. Then I'll be right back. I'm going to the store, you all. I'll be right back.
Great. So you left the
Yes.
apartment. What happened next?
Well, he left out, and at that, and about it wasn't like 5, 10 minutes later, a guy that lived behind us, a tenant, and we called him Big Philly. He's a big guy, but he's from Philadelphia. That's why we call him that. His real name is James Richburg.
Okay.
And I heard, he was trying to get here. I don't know if he's incarcerated or not, but he got into, to something else. I ain't going into all that.
Ms. Rhonda,
But,
Ms. Rhonda, I will allow you to ask leading questions.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
just gonna make this so much easier.
I know y'all have your rules, Your Honor, but I'm trying to,
That's okay. So she's gonna ask you leading questions, try to help you out.
So, Mr. Big Philly came into your apartment and what did he say to you?
no, ma'am, he didn't come in our apartment. He came cause my front door, when you come from the back, you can see you can see me sitting down on my sofa from the back, you know, a small apartment complex. And that he said, hey, Barry, Pope is his nickname. You need to come out here. And Ed, what they call me, you need to come out here too and see this. What do you want? And we was going out there and see what we want. And around our brick wall, yeah, Mr. Craig Nelson was laid out bloody in the head.
Okay, so, thank you. So when Mr. Big Philly did not come into your apartment, but yelled into your apartment for your attention, you were sitting on the couch and Mr. Barry Nelson was
sitting right next to me. He could not possible did that.
Hold on.
Okay, hold on.
Let her ask you a question, okay?
Well,
Okay.
I'm sitting, I don't know, y'all have.
Hold on,
your
hold on.
rules,
It's
y'all,
a
but
bit
I'm just
hard.
saying, that man.
Hold on, stop. Here are the rules.
All
She
right.
asks you a question, you got to answer that question, okay? So
And
hold on,
nothing else.
let her ask another question.
All right.
Okay, so to be crystal clear, and I believe this is what you were going to say,
Mhm.
that Barry Nelson was sitting next to you on your couch between the time that Mr. Craig Nelson said he was going to the store and when Mr. Big Philly yelled into your apartment that something had happened to Mr. Craig Nelson outside.
Question, Your Honor.
I'll rephrase.
Okay.
When Mr. Craig Nelson told you that he was going to the store, was Mr. Barry Nelson sitting next to you?
Yes, you were.
Yes,
And you stayed there.
great. About 10 minutes later, Mr. Big Philly yelled into your apartment that you needed to come outside because something happened to Mr. Craig Nelson. Is that correct?
Right, exactly.
Did Mr. Barry Nelson move from your couch between those two time periods?
Not until he told us to come out, you all need to see this.
Understand?
We both walked out together.
Gotcha.
Great, thank you. Now, I have some questions. Did anyone promise you anything to get you to come here and testify?
Anybody promise me anything to come here to? No,
To testify today?
no, and some other things I want to say, but I'll let you ask me the question first.
Hold on.
No, nobody, no,
No one promised you anything. Did anyone force you to come here?
no,
Did anyone threaten you to be here?
no,
You came here of your own free will because you want to tell the truth about what happened on May the 26th, 2022.
that is correct.
All right, sorry to answer.
Okay. Have you, we started this whole conversation with me asking the question of have we spoke before? Is that correct?
How do we what?
That we've spoken before. Is that correct?
Yes, we have.
Okay. And we've spoken many times, in fact. Is that correct?
Yes, through phone, yes. And,
Yes. And one time you even came to my office back in, let's see, February. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe, yes. Mhm.
And you read, or you gave me a statement and then wrote a statement. Is that correct?
Affidavit.
Absolutely. And does that affidavit match everything that you said here today?
Is correct.
Fantastic. I would like to admit this statement given by Mr. Ed Howard that matches his testimony given here today.
I will object, Your Honor. It appears that it will be more prejudicial than actually informative, Your Honor.
I don't see how it could possibly be prejudicial. If anything, it shows consistency of statements.
I mean, so he's given, his written statement says what he just said, right? So how do you think that's prejudicial? Let's see.
Can I review? Can I?
Oh, sure.
I would happily give it over.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, we'll allow it. I guess you can just email it to the court reporter.
Sure.
Okay.
Fantastic. Now, Mr. Howard, did you speak to a detective, Mustafa, regarding this incident that happened on May 26, 2022?
I'm sorry, you repeat that? I didn't hear the whole question.
Did you speak to a detective, Mustafa?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And did you tell him the exact same statement that you have given here today?
Yes, I did. At first, I told him that, he asked me, we're gonna get this straight here. And that, yeah, he came to my apartment twice. First time he came and he asked me, was Mr. Barry Nelson with me at first when I heard a commotion? I said, no, he was not. He came a little later. And he asked me that, do you know or not, Mr. Barry Nelson could have caused the problem back there instead of Mr. Craig Nelson? I said, well, I don't know that. I can't see back there. Now, and there was a difference that he came back the second. I said, well, yeah, he came after I heard the commotion about, 5-6 minutes later. I don't know if he could have started it, but I know one thing, he didn't beat his brother up.
Okay. So just to be clear, you told Detective Mustafa that Mr. Barry Nelson was on your couch with you through the entire incident.
Entire time.
Thank you. No further questions.
Cross.
Yes, Your Honor.
After this incident occurred, did you call 911?
I called 911.
Did you call the police after the incident?
No, someone else called 911 after they see him laying out when they're all bloody. I didn't call 911. I don't know who did it. I know who did it. My neighbor above me did that. Lived right above me. And her son was visiting her with his daughter, and he went down and he's the one that seen at first, and then came back up and told his mother, I live in number 1 and she's in number 2. All the odd numbers on the bottom and all the even numbers on top.
Your Honor,
And she the one, her son the one that called me out.
So just answer the question he asked, okay? All right, go ahead.
You said you was drinking bourbon that day, is that correct?
Yeah, I drink bourbon, yes.
How often do you drink bourbon, sir?
Does that matter?
Your
Does it
Honor.
really matter? I'm quite lucid right now, and I was quite lucid then.
Just answer his question. Bourbon's a good thing. It's okay. I'm not.
Oh, yes, I have some bourbon then. Well, I never drink well. I'm not really what you call alcoholic, and a matter of fact, I don't drink that much.
Objection, Your Honor. I would.
So he just wants to know how often.
Yeah,
Think
but
every day, every
that's bad to me. Like I'm drinking, I didn't know what the heck was going on.
I guess what he wants to ask is how many bourbon drinks did you have that morning or that afternoon?
I drank
That's not what I asked, Your Honor. Respectfully, I asked,
Weekend.
how often do we drink
How
bourbon?
often do you drink bourbon?
Every 6 years. Drink like that.
And
Every few days, mister.
I would
Couple
ask.
times a week? Are you saying a couple times a week?
Well, it's like, every few days, Miss Lady.
Okay, Miss Lady, thank you. It's Judge, but thank you. Miss Lady's good.
Can't do
and
that.
when you drink bourbon, how much do you drink?
Pint.
You said 1 pint? Okay,
1 pint
okay.
every 3 or 4 days. How much do you drink?
Objection.
Objection to his question? I'm not saying the objection
Your Honor.
to the question. Next.
The witness,
When I
Mr.
get up here, I feel like
Howard, only answer the questions that are asked of you.
Hold on.
Does not have anything to do with me about
Hold
this.
on.
I'm objecting.
Stop.
Yes,
We
okay.
answer the questions that he asked. Some of them may offend your sense of your privacy or your personal beliefs or something that you do, but it's okay. We'll get through it. We'll get you out of here.
Yes, ma'am.
And That day, did you drink a full pint of bourbon?
Yes, I did.
And at what time did you start drinking the bourbon?
I'll say this incident happened about 1:20, so I'll say about 12:30 PM.
So you consumed a whole pint of bourbon at 1 hour? How long did it take you to drink it?
1 hour. And I was sharing it with my friend, Mr. Barry Nelson.
And were you intoxicated?
No,
How long have you and Barry Nelson been friends?
2 years now.
How often do you and Mr. Barry Nelson drink bourbon?
It's not often, sir. Matter of fact, it's not often at all.
What does not often mean?
Not often. You know what often mean, don't you? Not often. 2, maybe twice a week, weekends.
And
That's not often. Question is that.
There you go. You gotta stop talking under your breath, okay? Answer his questions.
on this day, did Barry Nelson have any alcohol with him?
Yes, he had been drinking some.
And was that the only alcohol that you consumed that day?
Yes.
Are you friends with his brother, Craig Nelson?
I were.
What was your answer? Are you friends with Craig Nelson?
Yes, and I told him I were.
You were, are you, okay.
And
Are you no longer friends?
no,
Why are you no longer friends with Craig Nelson?
I'm gonna tell you why. Because of what his niece did to Barry Nelson. Barry Nelson was up in Tennessee working with the ministry, doing the right thing. And she gonna send the police up there and arrest him while he was working and doing the right thing with God? With God, mister. That's all we need to get to, with God. We need to get with him and Jesus. The guy was sitting right next to me when that happened.
And Big Philly,
Said, what now?
how long have you known Big Philly?
They know who?
Big Philly.
About a year and a half. He had been there, yeah, just about a year and a half.
I search if I get out of the plane, pick up the patient, he's being ventilated.
And do you drink bourbon with Big Philly?
No, I never drank with him. No.
And have you had any alcohol today?
No, I have not.
When was the last time you consumed alcohol?
2 days ago.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Anything else?
Very brief.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Can you say something?
Can I
Mr.
say
Howard.
something?
No, just, Helen, she got a question for you.
I have just a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
You testified there on cross that you had a few drinks of bourbon on May the 26th, correct?
Yes.
Did your drinking impact your memory in any way?
No, no way.
So as you sit here today,
Mm-hmm.
it is your testimony that Mr. Barry Nelson was sitting next to you on your couch during the incident.
Yes, you were.
No further questions.
Anything else? Thank you, sir.
Uh-huh.
You can step down.
Ma'am, can I say something, Your Honor, please?
Oh, that's okay, because it has to be.
Mr. Howard, I would
Okay.
prefer for you not to say
Okay,
anything.
no problem. no
Thank
problem.
you.
I just want to say something.
You want to say what?
We can talk about it after.
Okay. Great, Nelson, drunk.
Thank you so much, Mr. Howard.
Stand by. All right, yeah, we got some rules. Okay, anything else?
Your Honor, can I have? Your Honor, I will submit on the evidence and I will, at this time, I will submit on the evidence and I will respond to our argument if the defense counsel makes one.
Ms. Rondon.
Okay. Based upon the testimony today, I'm going to be asking for both counts of aggravated assault or count of aggravated assault and aggravated battery to be dismissed for insufficient probable cause. Based on the testimony by Detective Mustafa, there were witnesses to this incident and several stories were given by those individuals, specifically the reporting party, Mr. Nelson's niece, changed her story about what happened to her uncle several times. The statement given by Mr. Craig Nelson was given a month and a half later after being unconscious. He reported being hit in the back of the head, but was somehow able to also see who hit him in the back of the head. And as Your Honor heard from Mr. Edward Howard, Mr. Barry Nelson was located on his couch in his apartment during the entire incident. That is the story and statement he relayed to Detective Mustafa, I apologize. That is the statement that he relayed in writing to myself and my investigator in February, and that is still the statement that he relayed today, April 18th. He has remained consistent in the fact that Mr. Barry Nelson was sitting on his couch and it would have been impossible for him to have hurt Mr. Craig Nelson. What we've heard today, there just has not been, the burden has not been met to prove that Mr. Barry Nelson attacked Mr. Craig Nelson. And so I'd be asking for both counts to be dismissed.
All right, good.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, it was more than enough information given for probable cause by Officer Mustafa. What I would like to go ahead and say in regards to Mr. Edward Howard, Your Honor. Mr. Howard did appear to be intoxicated. Mr. Howard does appear to have a drinking problem. He seemed like he gets angry at the word of bourbon. He consumed a full pint of bourbon within an hour of the actual incident. It is the state's belief that he do not have the understanding as to what happened and to what occurred. It seems like he has some personal anger towards Craig Nelson as of right now. He seemed like he is angry that his friend was arrested. It seems that he was not honest, forthcoming with Detective Mustafa, Your Honor. It is the state's belief that Edward Howard is going to get his drinking buddy out of jail for the action that occurred on that time, Your Honor. Mr. Mustafa went and spoke with him several times. He had enough time to go ahead and make this clear and concise story for Detective Mustafa, but he didn't. He waited several months later.
He said Detective Mustafa came and spoke with him twice. He did not give this exact same story to Detective Mustafa. Detective Mustafa has his report here. He has this information with him at this time, and this information was not relayed to Detective Mustafa. Detective Mustafa allowed Mr. Edward Howard to go ahead and speak to him. He also allowed Big Philly to try to speak with him at this time. I understand if they are not forthcoming with the officers had to rely on an eyewitness testimony. Let's be clear, it is one person who knows what happened to them. Even if it's a month and a half later, he recalled what happened. He was able to identify him. He identified him by name. He identified him by family relationship. And then he identified him by picture, Your Honor. This is a person who, at a horrible incident, was on life support. He had a tracheotomy, but you remember what caused you to be in the position that you were at that time. We cannot minimize, diminish the victim's own identification of his brother as the person who committed this crime, Your Honor. I would like the court to take that into consideration, and I ask that you find probable cause for both charges.
Okay.
May I briefly respond?
Okay, sure.
On cross-examination, Detective Mustafa did tell the court that when he spoke to Mr. Ed, he said his last name was Griffin, but when he spoke to Mr. Ed Howard, that he did state to him that Mr. Barry Nelson was sitting on his couch. That was said today during cross-examination. Further, Mr. Howard did say that even though he consumed alcohol that day, that he did not drink that pint on his own. He split it with someone else. And then he did say that that did not impact his memory. Those are my only statements.
All right. All right, it's definitely a lower burden. There'll probably be some credibility questions and all kinds of good. Let me know when this one's at trial, because I want to actually what you call your witness there, Ms. Rhonda. So I'll find probable cause on ag battery and aggravated assault based on the witness statement. Right now, there's a $200,000 good bond, though. I don't know have y'all spoken?
I have, Your Honor, and I'm ready to move forward in regards to the bond.
All right.
Your Honor, if you'd like to go ahead and go forward.
In regards to Mr. Nelson, extensive arrest history, I think 44, but his felonies are from the 90s. Misdemeanors, 16, a couple of FTAs, well, 4 FTAs, but last one in 01, 4 arrests for probation violation, nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Rondon.
Yes, Mr. Nelson is 60 years old. He is a lifelong resident of Atlanta. He has 2 children that are grown adults. Mr. Nelson has completed the 10th grade. Prior to his arrest, he was not working. He was receiving Social Security as well as food stamps. When he is released from custody, he would be able to stay with his niece Tiffany and her husband, who live in Fairburn. That address is 6711 Hill Rock Lane, Fairburn, Georgia, 30213. Based on what pretrial said, his felony convictions were from the 90s, and the rest of his FTAs were from 2001 or the early 2000s, I think I heard. That is 20 and 30 years ago. Mr. Nelson was on the right track to putting his life on the right track for a significant period of time. When he was arrested, he was in Tennessee at a program, and he's really hopeful to be able to go back to that program because he was doing really good work up there. I would ask Your Honor to lower the bond. I mean, based on what Your Honor heard today, I'd be asking for bond not to exceed $50,000. We would accept whatever conditions the court deems as appropriate to ensure that Mr. Nelson does appear for future court dates. But based on his means, $200,000 is completely out of, it's not possible for him to make that. So we would ask for bond to not exceed $50,000.
Go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Yes, Your Honor. Our victim, advocate was able to get in contact with the victim today, Your Honor. We made direct contact with the victim. I would like the court to know that he is a 65-year-old male who lost his vision in his left eye. Your Honor. He is currently in a rehab home in Westminster Commons And he has been in and out of the hospital for the last 3 months, Your Honor. He had a feeding bag because he wasn't able to feed himself. We actually heard on, my direct examination that he had a tracheostomy. I'm not sure if he had any complications with the tracheostomy, but he did have a feeding bag. He has not been able to live a normal life since this incident has occurred. His niece, who was, it seemed like his biggest advocate, did reach out to us because she wanted to let us know that she was concerned. She was concerned about the actual defendant being released and more harm occurring. And to let the court know, he has remained in a hospital facility, a rehab facility, since this occurred, Your Honor. We are concerned for the threat to the public, Your Honor, for the threat to the victim, Your Honor, for intimidation to the actual victim, also, Your Honor, for collusion with the actual possible witness that is his drinking buddy, also, Your Honor. I ask that the bond remain where it is because of the effects of what occurred to the victim in this case.
No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. Stay away from 583 Paynes Avenue Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia. No further contact with Craig Nelson or Deidra, D-I-A-D-R-A Nelson, or Big Philly or any other witnesses. January, overnight at 90,000 per count. Best of luck to you, sir. I've already emailed Ms. Willis about the case and the ones that had 200+ days about indictment.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, so we got what's this other guy's name?
It's 180.
Officer
Curtis Clayton.
C. Watson is here for position 4 and 5.
All right, Curtis Clayton.
You would have to pay about.
Which one of y'all got Curtis Clayton? You got Curtis Clayton? Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna contact.
You can come on up. We'll handle Curtis Clayton.
No, I have to contact. They're gonna need to take you back, so I'm gonna contact you. The jail.
Miss Smith, are you on tonight too?
I think it's 18,000.
Are you on with me tonight also?
And you do the math, okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I know,
I'm not trying to shorten your cross, but just know I have another calendar starts at 5.
I apologize. I'll come to see you at the jail. Can I ask for the court reporter's email, please?
Madam Court Reporter, can you, or put it in the chat?
Ms. Rhonda, I can send you an email. It's the same one from last week.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
I'm right here, Your Honor. I'm supposed to come off the record.
Please raise your right hand.
Okay.
You swear affirm that the testimony you're gonna give is the truth and the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Just have a seat, state, speak loudly, state and spell your name for the court reporter.
Officer Jean Noel. My first name is James, James, and my last name is JN-NOEL, Jean Noel.
All right, stand by till he comes back in. And thank you, Ms. Rondon. Yeah. Yes, thank you for today, Ms. Rondon. I needed that. Need Kleenex? All right, here we go. This is Curtis Clayton, position 3, 22 CP 212128, 224 days without indictment. There's a $61,000 good bond as of September the 8th, 2022. Trafficking in illegal drugs, possession of firearm or knife during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies. Possession of firearm or knife during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies. EGCSA, possession of controlled substance in Schedule 1 or 2 with intent to distribute, purchase, possession, manufacture, distribution, sale of marijuana, and possession of drug-related objects. Go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Where are you currently employed?
You gotta speak up just a hair louder for the court reporter.
I'm still on, I'm sorry, I'm still unable to.
Tap on that microphone.
It went out. Do it again.
Now try it. Oh,
Still not in.
I guess.
They have a special tab.
Ah, there we go.
You're not-
Nope.
Yeah, I guess you might want to go sit at the prosecutor. Huh? Or you can sit in the middle, either one you want to, that way we can,
Either or, doesn't matter. You know what? I do better if I look at them. It'd be better if you.
okay,
Sit in the front
have a
right
seat
there.
over there at the prosecutor's table, so he can, microphone that works.
Wow, so that goes for you too, all right.
Thank you.
All right. Take that seat, please.
Yes, I work for the city Atlanta Police Department.
Okay, Madam, court reporter, were you able to hear him okay?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Were you working with them on September the 7th, 2022?
Yes, sir.
And how did you come in contact with Curtis Maurice Clayton?
Well, I was on a direct patrol at 232 Forsyth Street.
And what county is that in?
Is Fulton County.
Okay. And what happened at that address?
So when I was across the street in front of the convenience store, I had multiple shot fire, and I was radio and let radio know that I heard multiple shot fire behind the Goyahon bus station. And I wait until for a unit coming, and I see people running in different direction. And when the unit came, so we went behind the ground, and we saw multiple shell casing on the floor. And while we
Where were the shell cases at?
they were on the ground.
On the ground, and this is just for proximity's sake, the ground behind the Greyhound bus station?
Yeah, where the bus coming to make the stop on the street.
Okay, go ahead. After you saw the bullet casings, what did you do next?
And so I was going to the ground, and one of the bystander told me someone had blood on his head in the restroom. So now I went to the restroom, and I make contact with the person to see who is the person, and to call Grady for the person.
Okay.
So, and this is when when I approach, it was Mr. Clinton, Mr. Curtis Clinton, and I asked him, so what happened your head? I see he changed the clothes. He had a clothes. He was changing the clothes, and he had a bag on the floor. And when I asked him what happened, and he said someone hit it on his head while he's running. And so I told him, okay, let's go outside, and I will call Grady for EMS for you, to check your injuries. And while we walk out, an employee ground, I think is a housekeeper, and called behind us in the restroom and told me that they have a gun underneath of a black wog.
A black what?
A black wog. A wog.
I'm sorry.
A black carpet. A carpet.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Go ahead.
And so I went back with Mr. Curtis, Mr. Clinton, and I see the gun where exactly Mr. Clinton stayed while I was talking to him. And I asked him, so is your gun? So he said no. So now I detain Mr. Clinton and go outside with him and give it into another unit. And now I went in the office of ground and to review the video footage of the incident.
And what did you see?
And when I look at the video footage, I saw Mr. Clinton coming down direction south of the ground bus station, go toward the smoking spot. He had a blue shirt and he had a backpack and walking down, and they have two other individuals wearing black and walking with him. So they went inside the smoking spot and they start talking after a few minutes, and they started a fight. One of the guy put out a gun in Mr. Clinton and took the bag from Mr. Clinton and hit Mr. Clinton in his head. And the other suspect pulled out his gun and started shooting at the guy who took the gun, the guy who took the bag of Mr. Clinton.
Okay.
And after that, the guy trembled and left the bag on the floor, and the other suspect that with Mr. Clinton, that was with Mr. Clinton, took the bag and ate it to Mr. Clinton, and they start warning. So they have a ramp at the ground station.
And
They
hold on, before we get to the ramp,
Mhm.
what did the guy who was standing next to Mr. Clayton do with the gun?
He started shooting at the other guy.
And when they started going towards the ramp, what did he do with the gun?
So when they start go to the ramp, so I don't know what's the guy do with the gun,
Okay, go ahead.
because we don't have any sign coming out at that place.
Okay.
So now after I saw all those different angle of the incident, so I called the unit who was with Mr. Clinton and told him to place Mr. Clinton in custody, because he was one of the guy who he was one of the guy that started shooting at the ground. So now when I came out and I checked the bag, I opened the bag and I see 16 small baggie with a white crystal that's suspected to be cocaine, and I saw two baggies, a white powder that suspected to be cocaine, and they have a bottle of pills, blue pills, and they have Mr. Clinton has position is scale, and they have another bottle that has multiple species of marijuana.
And for each drug that you just described, can you please tell a court how it was packaged and the weight of each drug? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was there was 16 small bag, clear baggy white crystal.
Okay.
So when I put it when I put them together, he weighing 26 grams.
Okay, and the next,
And the second one, when I put it together, those two baggies is weighing 24 grams. And I take
and for the marijuana, how was that packaged and how much did it weigh?
the marijuana, it was weighing 12 grams, something like that.
And you have two charges for possession of a firearm or knife during a commission or attempt to commit certain felonies. What was the basis for those two warrants?
Okay, so the firearm, I charge you for the firearm because when I went to the bathroom and the firearm was on the waistband where Mr. Clinton stand. So that's why. So I reasonable to believe that the gun it was for Mr. Clinton.
Okay.
And when I search after I placed Mr. Clinton in custody, when we search Mr. Clinton, he has the pocket knife on his white pocket.
And what kind of pocket knife was it?
It was a regular pocket
What's the
knife.
size of the blade?
I think is maybe 3 inches.
And let's discuss this bag a little bit more. When you walked into the bathroom, where was the bag?
The bag was in front of the leg of Mr. Clinton. He was opening to get his t-shirt.
Okay, and did you see him going inside the bag?
Yeah, when I come in, he was about to get a white shirt.
And were you post certified during this time?
Yes, sir.
And for your post certification, does it require education in regards to illegal drugs?
The basic.
Okay.
While I was in the academy.
And do you see the person in the courtroom that you saw in a video on
Everybody can remove the mask?
September the 7th, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Can you please describe the article of clothing he is wearing?
Yeah, he was sit down on the table.
And an article
with a blue
article of clothing, please.
Yeah, with a blue jump shirt.
May the court
Blue
recognize
navy.
he positively identified the defendant?
Right, noted.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross?
Good afternoon, officer.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Who told you that there was a firearm in the restroom?
He was a housekeeper.
Do you know the name of the housekeeper?
He did not give him his name.
Did you, when you spoke to Mr. Clayton, were you wearing a body camera during this time?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it properly working?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you preserve that footage into evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you entered the restroom, where exactly was Mr. Clayton located?
It was staying in the middle So when you just coming and you will see him.
Okay, was he in front of a stall or?
No, he was staying like, so I can explain that. So the west wing is open like that. So when you coming, so he was in the middle. So between the bathroom, between the toilet and the other stand.
And where exactly was the firearm located?
The firearm was located under a carpet that was laying down in the west room.
Okay, was that also in between the stall? Or?
Middle.
Okay. And this was a public restroom, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Were there other people in the restroom?
At the time, it was Mr. Clinton and the housekeeper, because it was 5:31, 5:40. The housekeeper coming to cleaning, so the housekeeper was inside too.
And before you entered the restroom, did you see anyone coming from the restroom?
I don't remember. I see.
And so when you came into the restroom, you didn't automatically see the firearm, right?
No.
So you had to do some investigating. You had to actually lift up the rug.
Exactly.
You mentioned that there were two suspects that were walking with Mr. Clayton, and those two suspects had guns, correct?
Yeah.
But you never saw Mr. Clayton actually have a gun?
No.
You also mentioned that from the footage, the camera footage, that one of the suspects who started to shoot at the person who stole the bag from Mr. Clayton, that you didn't know what he did with his gun.
I didn't know what he did.
And when you arrived to the scene, there was a group of people that was outside, correct?
Yeah, people wanting different direction.
Did you interview any one of the witnesses besides the housekeeper?
No.
And was the conversation, let me backtrack, was the conversation that you had with the housekeeper, was that recorded?
Yeah, he just because we're not far to the when we're not coming out, we're not far to where we was when he called me and he said, "Oh, they have a gun under the carpet." All right, and so I just turn around and go back with Mr. Clinton and lift the carpet and I see the gun.
Okay, so this was a phone call that the housekeeper made to you?
No.
Okay, so he actually just came.
So
The step officer, she just wants to know, did he talk to you face to face?
Yeah, face to
Was it on your
face to
body cam?
face?
yeah, he just passed by next to me and said, "Okay, they have a gun."
Is it on your body cam?
Yes, ma'am.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks.
And was this camera footage preserved into evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you made contact with this housekeeper since the day of the incident?
No, ma'am.
Was the substance that was found in the bag taken into evidence?
Yes, ma'am. For analysis.
And to your knowledge, was there a field test done to properly identify the substance?
So usually when you turn into the evidence for analysis, so we don't have any answer back.
Okay, so you
But
don't,
if you need, but
you don't know. Okay, can you describe what the bag looked like that was in the restroom?
okay, is a gray blue bag. It's like a gray blue bag.
And from the video footage that you watched, is this the same bag that was taken from Mr. Clayton?
That's correct.
So you stated that the bag that was taken from Mr. Clayton was taken by suspect 1, and then suspect 2, he started to shoot at suspect 1, and then he grabbed the bag.
Yeah, yeah. When suspect 1 got hit and he dropped the bag and started running, and the suspect 2 took the bag and ended to Mr. Clinton, and the both went toward the ground.
Okay, and did you see what happened to the bag after that?
So when he handed to Mr. Clinton, they went inside the ground.
Okay, but you didn't see them go inside of the restroom?
So when I look at the video inside the ground, you see Mr. Clinton went to the bathroom with the bag, but I did not see the other suspect who was with him.
Okay. And can you give me a time frame and how long you seen Mr. Clayton running towards, I guess, the inside of the Greyhound with the bag?
Okay, so the incident happened, I think happened around 5:31, something like that. So by the time, I don't recall the time, but it might be maybe 5-10 minutes between.
Was there an angle that you couldn't see? Because I'm assuming that you wasn't able to actually see some type of point of vantage where suspect number 2 was out of the frame at some point.
So no. So I don't. So when I look at inside the video footage inside, so I don't know if it was because they have a lot of people waiting for the bus. You know, I don't know exactly. Maybe he hide, but I saw Mr. Clinton went to the bag and keep look at behind, you know, inside.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any more redirect?
No redirect at this time, after this officer be released and allowed to leave, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Stay safe out there, officer. Go ahead with the argument.
I will submit my evidence, Your Honor, and I will respond to the defense counsel.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Just one moment, Your Honor. Can I confer with my client?
Sure. Argument.
Sorry about
That's
that,
okay.
Your Honor.
No, that's okay. Careful, the microphone's hot.
Your Honor, we are requesting a dismissal on all charges for lack of probable cause. For count 1, trafficking and illegal drugs, count 4, possession of controlled substance in Schedule 1 or 2 with the intent to distribute, count 5, purchase, possession, distribute,
Distribution, I know it's late.
or sale of marijuana, and count 6, possession and use of drug-related objects. In this case, Mr. Clayton is being accused of having possession of drug-related substances and objects that were found inside of a bag. However, there were multiple people who had their hands on this bag that was stolen from him. The time between when Mr. Clayton had the bag in his possession, and then also when the suspect number 1, and I'm sorry, because I don't think we got a name
Yeah, we
for
didn't.
that. And suspect number 2, which was, suspect number 1 was actually Mr. Brown. That was his, Antoine Brown.
Right.
We didn't get a name for suspect number 2. But he had taken, between the time that he had taken the bag and then the suspect number 2 had it in his possession, there was a time where you could not actually see where suspect number 2 was located. So we don't know if they handed off the bag again, and then, he gave he could have put something inside of that bag, gave it back to Mr. Clayton. We have no idea what exactly the chain of custody is and for how long specifically it is. And also, when it comes to, someone clearly had possession of the bag, but we just don't know how long. So we don't know how long it took for people to throw some drugs or anything inside of the bag. For count 2, mere presence inside of a public restroom at a bus stop where Mr. Clayton was tending to his wounds, the back of his head where he was bleeding, is not enough for an accusation such as this one to stand when the firearm was underneath a rug inside of a public restroom. That firearm could have been placed by any number of the people who had been on scene running around, during that time. Additionally, for count 3, our argument is based on our first argument for counts 1, 4, 5, and 6, being that Mr. Clayton, he didn't have the alleged drug-related substances in his possession. There's no commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies. So thus there was no violation of 16-11-106, because although Mr. Clayton, he did have a pocket knife in his possession, there was no felonious crime that actually was committed at that time, Your Honor. So for all of those reasons, we're requesting a dismissal.
All right, good.
Your Honor, he was actively going in the bag when the officer came to the scene. He was going in the bag, changing his shirt at the time after the shootout occurred. He had the bag in his constructive possession, Your Honor. He was the only one in front of the bag. There was nobody else that was near or around the bag. The housekeeper who was there at the time alerted the officer of the gun. It was nobody who else was associated with the gun, Your Honor. I ask that you found probable cause for all charges before the court.
All right, I don't know that he gave me enough detail on the pocket knife. So I'll dismiss the one possession of a firearm or knife during the commission of a felony that refers to the pocket knife. But since it is such a low threshold, we'll find probable cause on everything except the one count with it refers to the pocket knife. Let's see, bombs addressed in September. Go ahead, Bostic.
In regards to Mr. Clayton, this is his only prior arrest in Georgia, 2 in North Carolina, 2017 FTA. In South Carolina, there's 20 prior arrests. There's misdemeanor possession in 2011 and 2015. Schedule 1, misdemeanor classified there. 3 FTAs, 11, 13, and 20, nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Your Honor, Mr. Clayton, he's 30 years old. He is from South Carolina. He does have an address. It's not the same address on file. He lost his home while he was in custody, Your Honor. However, this is his mother's address, which we will be filing with the court. It's 1000 King Street, South Carolina, and 29413. Before Mr. Clayton did receive his GED, prior to his arrest, he was working at Higher Quest. We are requesting, Your Honor, for Mr. Clayton's bond to be cut in half. I mean, he's exhausted all of his finances while he's been in custody. Even if it is cut in half, I mean, he's not going to be able to afford it. However, it is something, Your Honor. That's what we're requesting.
Mr. McCauley?
Yes, Your Honor. This is an active shootout in a highly populated area, Your Honor. He is a person with a bag of multiple drugs. We are concerned because with the level of amount of drugs that have what happens to the community on consumption. Also, we are concerned in regards to the fact that he was in a public area with a gun at that time, Your Honor. We are concerned because of his ability or possibility to commit additional felonies, Your Honor, and we would defer to the court in regards to the amount.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer, sir. Don't even come to Fulton County for gas, get something to eat. All right, you can't come back here unless you're here for court or see a lawyer. But you're gonna come back because you're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Except for court, lawyer, medical, and employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, place of employment, the schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. Also, stay away from the Greyhound bus station here in the city of Atlanta. 10,000 count one, 5,000 on the one possession of firearm that's left, 5,000 on schedule, possession of scheduled 1 or 2, 3,000 on the possession of marijuana, and then 100 on the drug-related objects. 10,000, 5,000, 5,000, 3,000, and 100. Best of luck to you, sir. Dexter Freedom. Let's do it. Get out there.
All right.
Let's do it. Dexter Freeland, there's the only one that should be the only one left.
You know what, officer, you can sit over here since that's acting weird. We wouldn't have to play with it. Stay right here, please. Your Honor, for the last one, you might as well sit at the. You might as well sit.
No, that's fine. He's on both cases, right?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
He's also on both cases, Your Honor, and attorney, it may be information in regards to both cases. I'm gonna let him speak freely just for the court reporter, and we will go ahead and do one date at a time. And we'll go ahead and go forward, if that's okay, this is where we can speed up the process a little bit, okay? And just for you, can I do both of my direct examinations and then
You can do both.
cross-examine him at the end?
You can do both.
Thank you.
All right, raise your right hand, officer. You swear affirm testimony about to give us truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
State and spell your name for the court reporter.
Name is Officer Charles Watson, CHARLES. Last name Watson, WATSON.
Oh, what do you mean? What's going on with him? Who? No, he was his psyche valve came back, so he can't go to trial.
Respectfully, I just put reset. Did we actually put a date on it?
Well, I think we said, no, we didn't. I think she's gonna file a motion.
Just want to make sure.
The ex parte came back, it wasn't. But yes, ma'am. All right, this is positions 4 and 5, 22, CP 213190, 187 days without indictment. As of April 3rd, there's a $30,500 good bond. Theft by taking, criminal damage to property in the second degree, giving false information to law enforcement officer. For Dexter Freeland, 22, CP 213191, 187 days without indictment. Theft by taking, possession of tools for a crime, 3 counts of criminal damage to property in the second degree. There's a $51,000 good bond as of April the 3rd. Go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Where are you currently employed?
Set up Atlanta Police Department.
And were you employed with them during the month of October 2022?
I was.
You were employed with them on October 9th, 2022.
I was.
Can you please discuss for that date?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm having a hard time hearing you, Mr. Curley.
We're gonna put it in the
Yeah, as long as y'all talk loud enough
test,
for her to
test,
hear.
test. Can you hear me?
Yep, yes,
Hey, hit test.
Sure, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. Sorry. On 10/9, 2022, how did you become aware of Dexter Freeland?
I became aware because I'm a part of the burglary task force. I was looking at cases involving in the area on Jonesboro Road and Brownsville. And I just started working the case.
And when you started working that case, what did you learn?
I learned that in the area, there was a lot of AC units that were stolen from the area. As I began to work in the case, talking to the community, they advised me that a male by the name of Dex is responsible. A previous case advised that a red truck was involved, and in the theft of AC units. I went around, spoke with some people in the area, found a red truck, talked with the owner, Mr. Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad advised me, second person advised me that Dex is the individual that's been stealing AC units around the area. Mr. Muhammad advised me, hey, listen, Dex is in the area a lot, so I'll let you know when he arrives.
And can you please spell Mr. Muhammad's name for the record?
Yes, his name is Muhammad.
Okay.
Ali, I think it's Ali Muhammad. Okay.
And in regards to this red truck, was the red truck a part of the thefts?
Possibly. It's a because a red truck was in a video footage from the previous, not involving my cases, but other cases, burglary cases.
Okay.
And there was a red truck involved, and that's how we came about trying to search for this red truck. And then that's when the red truck was in the same area that the burglary happened.
Okay. And after he gave you the name Dex, what did you do with it?
I started again talking to some people in the area, like who is Dex, who is this individual? And I looked at the video footage of one of my cases, and I was like, that this may be him at 1660 Jonesboro Road, but I wasn't sure. But I approached the individual in a way, and I asked him, hey, did you know anything about what's going on with AC units? And he gave me his name, told me his name was Mr. Roderick Johnson. So, okay. Well, a couple of minutes later, a female out there, I forget her name, but she helps me out a lot with intel in the area. And she said, well, that's Dex right there. I'm like, well, can't be, because I just spoke with Mr. Roger Johnson. That can't be Dex, because that's not, he didn't say that's his name. Well, it ended up being Dex. I ended up getting him fingerprinted at City Jail, and that's when his name came about.
Okay. And did you speak with him at the time?
Yes, he didn't want to speak at all. He didn't want to. I advised him his Miranda rights. He didn't want to talk.
And for how were you able to identify him as the person who committed the crime?
Sure. At the location where these AC units were taken, the property has some people that work for the maintenance staff. I spoke with one of the maintenance staff. He know who he is, but he don't know him by his name, so he can recognize him if he were to see him. Based on that, I sent the image to the maintenance staff and asked him, does this look like the individual that's been stealing the AC units in the area? He said yes.
Okay. And who was in the image of?
The image of was Mr. Dexter. That was the image of.
And Dexter, what is Dexter's last name?
Dexter Freeland?
Yes.
Dexter Freeland, yeah.
Okay.
So a picture was sent of Dexter Freeland to the maintenance staff that works for them.
Okay. And so, and was any video caught of him committing this crime?
Yes, it was, the video is on the property that belongs to the property. And they have it. I think we have it also. I think I asked them to send it to me on evidence.com.
Okay.
So it should be there.
And what do you see on the video? When you viewed the video, what did you see?
I saw male, messing with the AC unit, and it was a one, or maybe like 2 seconds, I was able to see his face. And that's how I was able to say, well, that may be Mr. Dex, whoever's individual at 1660 Jonesboro Road. So that's how I identify him on the video that was provided to us by the victim.
I'm sorry.
I think he left his phone. He's just trying to, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You left it on the seat.
I don't know about a blue card.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And for this case that occurred on 10/9, what was the address that this occurred at?
Can I refer back to my?
Please do.
Okay. All right. 1897 Jonesboro Road.
And what county is that in?
Fulton County.
And were you post certified during this time?
I was post certified.
Okay, so for this charge that occurred on 10/9, we have multiple charges, which I'm gonna go through a little bit quicker. It's theft by taking. What was the basis for that felony?
Theft by taking is an AC units. It's way over $500.
Okay, and the possession of tools for commission of a crime, what did you see?
Hammers, what is it? Wire cutters.
And through this, did you see a video? Was it a video for this crime on this day?
Yes.
Okay, and was the video in color?
Yeah, it was nighttime.
Okay.
So yes, you can obviously, I obviously did, it was black. I can see other colors, like the trees were green.
Okay.
Like that.
And were you able to see facial features on the video?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And in regards to this date, it's 3 charges for criminal damage to property. What was damaged?
The AC units and, yes, the AC units.
Okay. And
I'm sorry, the AC units and the wire. So for example, the wires that come from the home itself.
Okay.
That goes to the AC unit, and that was damaged from, yeah.
And you saying multiple AC units. So how many AC units was taken?
I don't know off the top of my head. So this property has 2 locations, 2 addresses, but same lot, but 2 locations. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have to look back and see. I don't really know how many.
So for the criminal damage to property, what was the cost and what was the damage to the property?
The damage was there was a copper wiring that attached from the house to the AC unit, as well as the AC unit. There were AC units that were also not taken. They were also standstill. So some AC units were taken, some were not. And the AC units were damaged that were left.
Okay.
Obviously.
So let's go with the first one. With that one, what was the cost for the damage to that property?
Which one are we referring to?
The first criminal damage to property charge, 2nd degree.
Can I look at my document?
Oh, sure.
I don't. Oh, it was an AC unit, a Goodman AC unit.
And what was the cost?
The AC unit was damaged due to the copper wire being cut.
Okay. And what was the cost of the AC unit?
The cost of it. It was damaged by the defendant.
Okay. And for the second criminal damage?
Another AC unit.
And what was damage on that AC unit?
The copper wiring, the copper connection from the house to the AC unit.
And for the third criminal damage to property, what was damaged?
AC unit.
And Was it video of him damaging all three AC units?
So it was one, and then the witness who I spoke with, the witness advised that he actually saw the individual taking the storage AC units from the property.
Okay. And the witness name again, please?
His name is
Mr.
Dwight Beats Beeks, Dwight, which works on the property.
And did you speak with Mr. Dwight?
I did speak with Mr. Dwight.
And tell me about the conversation that you had with Mr. Dwight.
I basically asked him how long have he been working here? Does he know the owners? Is he legally working for the property? And what about the AC units? What did you see the individual? What time of day was it? And what the person's name was, what the person looked like, whether he was white or black, whether was he a male or female. And he just gave me basic demographics about what he saw.
Okay. And in regards to the damage to the property, did he give you an estimated cost for each unit?
I spoke with the victim and they gave him an estimated cost on each one.
Okay, so let's go through them. I'm sorry, just one of the things we gotta get on record. For AC unit number one, what was the cost to the damage, for the damage?
Over 500. I don't know exactly.
Okay, and for the second unit, what was the cost?
Over 500.
And for the third, what was the cost?
Over 500.
Okay, and this is the owner that you're speaking to?
Yes, I spoke with each owner because there's two. So with each owner about their AC units.
Okay.
And they advised me what the price was, the make and model of each unit.
Okay, and so that covers position number 5, Your Honor. That's 22 CP 213191. Now I'm going to position number 4, 22 CP 213190.
Okay.
Okay. What was the address for this date? Was it the same address?
No, it was 1660 Jonesboro Road. Well, no, I'm sorry. I'll look at my documents because there's two addresses that I'm not very familiar. Okay. 1897. $1897 Jonesboro Road, Unit A.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what county is that in?
Fulton County.
And what happened on that day?
The victim reported AC unit were taken from the location, called 911 to report them stolen.
Okay. And did you review video for that day?
Yes.
And what did you see on the video for that day?
Male taking AC units, cutting the wires.
And on the video, did you see him remove the AC unit?
Yes.
And it was a warrant for criminal damage to property. What was the damage to the property?
The damage was the connection between the AC units, the AC unit coppers.
Okay.
That's all he was trying to scrap the copper.
Okay. And what was the amount for the damage?
For which one? The AC? Oh, 500.
I'm sorry, you said 500. Greater,
Yes.
less than?
More greater than 500. Yes.
Okay. And you also have one warrant for giving false information to law enforcement officer. What was the basis for that warrant?
Sure. I found out his real name was Dexter Freeland, and he gave me the name of something about the name of Roger or something like that, Johnson. He gave me Bernard Jackson. I'm sorry, Bernard Jackson. And he gave me the name the first time I made contact with him. And he gave me the name when he was in cuffs in our custody. He gave me that name. And then once I figured out that's really was his name because it didn't come back to anything, I transferred him to city jail for him to get fingerprinted. And based on the fingerprints from NCIC, his name came back, Dexter Freeland.
Got it.
And that's why I made the connection with Dexter, Dex, DEX, and Dexter.
Gotcha. And do you see the person in the courtroom that you saw in the video?
Everybody remove your masks.
Yes.
And can you please describe an article of clothing that he is wearing?
Sure. Navy blue shirt with a white shirt beneath, black glasses, and a gray beard.
May the court recognize that he has positively identified the defendant.
All right, noted.
And for this address, what county is it in?
Fulton County.
Were you post certified during this investigation?
Yes, I was.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Cross.
Officer Watson, you mentioned speaking with Mr. Beeks. What day and time did you speak to him?
It was the same, unknown on the time, but the date of Mr. Freeland's arrest, prior to Mr. Freeland's arrest, maybe let's say 4 hours prior to Mr. Freeland's arrest.
And how many times did you speak to Mr. Beeks?
Twice. Or approximately twice.
And were both of these conversations recorded?
Oh, yes. Yes, they were.
And they were preserved as evidence?
Yes,
I'm assuming it was recorded by a body cam.
of course.
And did Mr. Beeks give any written statements?
No, only verbal.
Did Mr. Mosique identify Mr. Freeland as one of, as the one who stole, allegedly stole the AC units on the Jonesboro property?
Mr. Who?
Mosique? Victim one?
No, they can't identify him. So they're not there like that, the owners.
Yeah, the owners.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so Mr. Bateau, the other owner as well, so he didn't identify.
No,
Right.
not at all.
And how did Mr. Beeks say that he witnessed Mr. Freeland allegedly stealing these AC units?
According to when I spoke to my recognition of my knowledge, when I spoke with him, he said that he don't know the guy by name, but he's very familiar with him because he's in the area very frequently. And he mentioned that he saw this known male that he knows that he spoke with in the past, that he saw him one night by one of the AC units taking, like cutting the copper from it.
Okay, so the red truck that was owned by Mr. Muhammad, you say that this was the same car that was used in a previous theft case?
Yes,
right?
not attached to the address, but same area, but it was attached to another theft.
And this theft case, was it similar in nature to stealing AC units?
Yes, ma'am. It was used as, from what I understand, it was used as to load items onto.
Can you describe what Mr. Muhammad looked like?
Older black male, about I would give him about 6'1", 6'2". Older male, the age I would say maybe he may be in his 70s, around there, maybe in his 70s.
And was the interview with Mr. Muhammad recorded
Yes, ma'am, it definitely was.
by body cam?
Yes, it was on my body cam, correct.
And that was preserved into evidence, correct?
Yes, it was.
So when you watched the surveillance video, you said that this probably is Dex, but you weren't sure that it was Dex.
That's correct.
And by Dex, we're referring to Mr. Freeland.
That's correct. That was a name that was given to me by the entire community.
What prompted you to speak with Ms. Hickson?
I've worked with Ms. Hickson in the past in that area, Lakewood, Jonesboro area, and there has been some burglaries in the area. And Ms. Hickson have gave me great intel about what's going on in the area.
And how long has she been giving you information?
About 2 years, 2 or 3 years.
Did she personally know this Dex person?
Objection calls for speculation. Oh.
You want to
Well-
rephrase? I mean, he already said yes. So I guess it's gonna get some-
But I was gonna say, I mean, Your Honor, he did have conversations with Ms. Hickson
I
where
guess if
she's,
she told you she knew him, yeah. You
Yes.
can answer.
Where was Mr. Freeland when you arrested him?
He was located at 1660 Jonesboro Road, Atlanta, Fulton County. This is a convenience store on Jonesboro Road, which is less than a half a mile from the incident location, from where these AC units were taken.
Okay, was he inside of the store?
Outside, in the parking lot area. When I first made contact with him.
Okay, so you didn't actually arrest him during that time?
That's correct. When he gave me Bernard Jackson, no, because obviously he gave me Bernard Jackson and I just left it alone. Obviously, I wasn't sure, but the second time I came in contact with him, I think you're asking, was at
Was that at the same location or a different location?
same area, so it's down the street from there. It's on Charleston. Let's see, Charleston and Livermore. I think that's from here. Charleston Avenue and Livermore Street.
Did you execute a warrant for Mr. Freeland's residence? A search warrant?
No,
Did you execute a search warrant for the red vehicle?
no,
Were you ever able to find any of the AC units?
no,
Did you check for any fingerprints at the scene of the incident?
So that was done after me. So I came secondary. So the primary officer did the report and I came on the second side to the investigation department. So I wasn't there to obtain the fingerprints.
Can you provide the name of the officer that obtained those fingerprints?
I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know who did the report. I'm not really sure.
Right, no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, argument or anything else?
Nothing else for this officer. I asked that he be allowed to leave, Your Honor. I submit on the evidence, Your Honor. I will respond to defense counsel if she has an argument.
Stay safe, officer. Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Have a good one, man. Thank you for coming out. Did you get it?
Your Honor, we will submit on the evidence.
Okay.
We
would like to be heard on bond though, Your Honor,
Okay.
if possible.
So probable cause on all charges. All right. All right, Bostic. Rattle it off, Bostic. I got like 4 minutes to get home and get set up.
Freeland, criminal damage to property theft by taking 53122 for 5 years, 22 SC 181945, one misdemeanor, 2 felony. The other 2 are theft by receiving stolen property in 2017, criminal damage to property, and a burglary in 2016. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Your Honor, Mr. Freeland, he's 53 years old. He is from Atlanta, Georgia. He does have a good address on file, which is his mother's home. Prior to his arrest, he had 2 jobs. He was working at CSX through the week, which he kept the railroad tracks. He would clean the railroad tracks. And he also worked at Blair Village, which is a pawn shop. And he worked as a stalker there. He is a high school graduate. He did also attend Middle Georgia Tech, where he was pursuing a career in cosmetology and also commercial in residential electricity. If he were to be released, he would be able to go back to those jobs. He does have 2 daughters. They are in the Atlanta area. We are requesting, Your Honor, for case 1, the case ending in 190. Just 1 second, Your Honor.
Yeah. 30,500.
Okay. Your Honor, we are requesting for the bond to be reduced and a reasonable bond amount of 15,000, Your Honor. Mr. Freeland, he doesn't have the funds to be able to bond out, Your Honor. And in case 2, the case ending in 191, we are also requesting for bond to be split in half, Your Honor. I believe that's
51,000?
Yes, Your Honor. So we're requesting for that to be split in half. He's not going to be able to afford that either, but we're getting somewhere, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor, small businesses are the backbone for our community, Your Honor. These are small business owners and he's taking their AC units. They have to replace that. That's going to be an increase in insurance costs for all Georgians. They have to go ahead and have other maintenance people come out to go ahead and fix the damage that happened, Your Honor. It didn't happen once. He was going to the same area, taking units at his will, Your Honor. The state is concerned in regards to property damage, and also with the defendant's history, we are concerned about him re-offending and committing additional felonies, Your Honor.
All right.
We will defer.
All right, on position 4, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact, and it's on there, on my previous bond order. Ms. Miller, no further contact with Emmanuel, Betote, no further contact with Greg Mozeke, Mozeke, or Chiquita, Chiquita Hickson, Hickson. Stay away from 1897 Jonesboro Road. I think I already said no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. You can only leave for court, lawyer, medical, and employment as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. So that'd be 10,000 count 1, 5,000 count 2, 100 count 3. On position 5, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, except for court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. No, stay away from 1997 Jonesboro Road. 1897 and 1997. Is it both all addresses, officer? 1897. Okay, 1897 Jonesboro Road. Let's see, no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact here with Greg Mozeke, and no further contact with Emmanuel Betote. 15,000 on count 1, 500 on count 2, 7,000 on count 3, 7,000 on count 4, 7,000 on count 5. Best of luck to you, sir.
I'm sorry, Judge Manning, what were the amounts for the first case again? Just the amounts?
So 10,000, 500, and then 100 on giving false information.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Okay, I'll sign those when they get back in the queue as soon as I don't live far from here, so I'm going to run home so I can start my night court calendar. So I'll be a couple minutes late if Ms. Lewis is on here. Bostic, let Ms. Lewis and Ms. Gaston, I'll be there in a few minutes.